Okay, we'll call our meeting to order. We have already done the Pledge of Allegiance flag here earlier, so we will move on to the approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Joan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other additions, subtractions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
As opposed, agenda is carried. We have 4 items on our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve those 4?
Move to approve.
Thanks, Mark.
Second.
Second. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
As opposed, carried. County Board Member Issue Forum. We'll start with Paul.
Just the one online that on the phone that I was listening to, the water board, West Central Regional Water. Very interesting information. Again, it's nice to see that they're progressing and moving forward. I still am concerned, like we were talking earlier, about the getting the proper people to be on this commission or whatever, but I think that'll turn out in the long run. It'll come out to be pretty good. The other thing is, I listened to the end of the meeting of the Tri-Valley. I don't know, were you there, Gary? I didn't hear you at that.
Yes.
So I'll let you go on that, but otherwise nothing. We're good.
Okay.
Gordon?
On the water district issue, the big topic there is the makeup of the commission that will be established. And supposedly the representation is going to be based a lot on population. And we have the largest population of the 3 counties in this proposed district. So if there's an odd number, and there needs to be an odd number of members on the commission, we should have the extra member. We'll see how that works. I would guess that there might be some discussion promoted by Clay County to maybe change that or take that advantage away from us. But if you look at the whole situation, we wouldn't even be talking about that district had it not been for Climax and for our Polk County contribution that increased the pipeline to 12 inches. 8 inches probably would have been enough to service Polk County, but it certainly wouldn't have gone any further than that. I don't think. Well, I'm not the engineer, but
no,
and I think that, at least in my thinking, that $580-some thousand that we put into the project basically should be there to support any expansion into Polk County, not so much beyond. And of course, I just think that we're the kingpin in this whole operation. If we didn't want to be a part of it, we could go on our own and have everything in place. So, but I don't think that some of the other counties, or at least one other county, thinks about the same way. I'm getting a little political here when I don't need to be.
But I think we need to stand up for us.
Yes.
And promote that as best we can, that we do have that.
Yeah.
I really feel strongly about that. So
just as a point, I think the attorney made it clear yesterday that the court will have a lot to say on this too. So the next meeting in May, that discussion will get started. What's not clear to me is if it's appointed by county line or if districts are set up. So it's equal proportion, which means some districts might overlap county line and 2 boards have to agree on an appointee, kind of like we do in some of the watersheds. But I don't think this is a long-term problem. I think this is just a normal startup issue. But yeah, you might want to be thinking of what your role, one of the 2 of you, since the district kind of covers your area, or Joan for that matter. Actually, Gary as well, if it gets So if you want a commissioner on there.
I'm assuming that would be probably be, each of the counties would get an automatic 2 members, and we would supposedly get the third. But if there's a startup commission where county commissioner would be a part of this, or 2, whatever, that it would be for a set term, period,
Yes.
a year or 2 years or
Yeah, that's
the
what he,
most or something
I
like
think
that.
that's what Stephen told me too when I was talking to him.
Yeah.
Because he's well aware that the majority of the commissioners on that would like
Mhm,
to kind of get this turned over into the commission
mhm.
and get the commissioners out of there. So
And as far as cost goes, this whole system, this whole idea is the consumer will be paying for the get the service to that property, along with grant money probably for the big distribution lines, and then the connection lines would be the consumer. I'm assuming that's how it would go, but
Well, Neilsville has some interest, right? Did you-
yes.
Yeah, and as a practical matter, for the places that want to be served, they have to get these lines extended. So they're going to run past communities that are interested. They're going to run past communities that aren't interested. I think, Shelley is always brought up as a community that doesn't have any interest. Well, you can't get to Halsted if you don't go through
go through Shelley.
Shelley if you're coming from Climax. Otherwise, you're coming across the river from North Dakota. So we've had those discussions in those meetings that ultimately it's really an engineering exercise that dictates where things are going to go. They're looking at every possible source of state and federal funding to get it up and going. So, they've got a ways to go, but they're going to click on something. And, eventually it's going to be more normalized, like what we see with Marshall Polk. We never see any issues.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention too that state legislatures are fully on board with this thing.
Well,
It looks
yeah,
like.
they're in the bonding, they're in the list for bonding, but I mean, so are we on other things,
Mhm.
but we got a ways to go before we know what the legislature or the
Sure.
governor are
But
gonna
there's
do.
support,
Oh, yeah.
from our local.
Clean water is
It's federal support.
priority.
Priorities. So
Of the 2 grants, the federal grants, $1.75 million each, one for Norman County and one for, well, basically Clay County. But I thought it was strange that there's no connection point between Climax and Norman County. There's no grant for that, but going on. So I raised that point yesterday, and I don't know if I got a good answer to that.
I noticed that too when on that drawing.
Well, one of them is for Felton, which obviously is not near a line, but these small cities have to address their own water distribution system, their storage system, so water towers and water lines. So I think in Felton's case, they want to be part of the district, but they have to do this internal work. And then once the district can get to them, it's probably going to get turned over to the district. And I think a lot of communities will end up saying, "Yeah, you guys
Take it.
take it."
Okay, probably enough on that. We had regional or corrections board meeting yesterday. Was that yesterday?
Last week,
Last Monday.
week.
yesterday was the water board you were at.
Okay, I was on Monday.
I was at both meetings with you, so I know.
Okay. Anyway, we had 147 inmates that day. That included 14 from Monoman County. That's kind of strange because they are on contract to pay for 30. And there's only half of that, so we'll see if there's some effort to readjust that contract or whatever. But so far, they've been pretty happy with the service they get. They just haven't gone up to the full 30. And I
And
don't,
they get a reduced rate too for that.
they have
too.
reduced rate, yes, and
Maybe it works for them.
yeah, I don't, they did a lot of work with, or they used Clearwater County a lot in the past. And I don't know if Clearwater's got all that much capacity and how that works, but anyway, we're hearing no, no noise from them, so at this point, they must be satisfied. Of the 147, there are only 2 from Norman County yesterday or Monday, and 1 from Red Lake County, so there's 3 inmates out of the 147 from those 2 counties. Yet those 2 counties have 4 of the votes of the 6 votes on the commission. So it's kind of strange how that whole operation goes, but it seems to be working. The March average is 143. There were 12 in the juvenile center. 8 is the average. Were in the residential side and 4 on the secure side. But the secure side is now being shut down because of staff shortages. And they'll still be in a position where they can probably take maybe 1 or 2 of those real hard to handle kids, enough to get by a few days anyway. They'll have to otherwise have to send them out to other facilities, but we'll see that goes. Revenue for the month was 112,763, so that's good. There were 73 new probation cases, closed 48. That's quite a change. And the problem with the juvenile center was that they've had 5 not retirements, but resignations. And of those, 3 were part-time. And that's the situation there. But they don't seem to be able to hold these people. They're younger, and I don't know what goes on there. And that's probably enough on that. And we had area transportation partnership last week, and they're starting now to take applications for the carbon reduction program. We'll see what that involves. It'll probably be lots of trail work and things. It's the only way you can reduce carbon reduction with transportation is to eliminate the vehicle stuff. So we'll see where that all goes. And that is probably enough. I have MPO tomorrow, nothing specific there. And that's enough out of me, I think.
I attended that corrections meeting, and they did struggle to get staffing to get that juvenile center up. And, the training that's involved, it's unfortunate that 3 of the new folks, I think they'd been there maybe 3 or 4 months, all resigned in the same month, so had to adjust to that. They also state what offenses are that people are there. And it's not a surprise that assaults, DWIs, controlled substance, right? But the ones that were the highest in the last couple of months, and I thought this was interesting, failure to appear and parole or probation violation. So that probably explains why the state did provide some additional funding for probation, and that's been a part of the formula now, that they're going to have to restructure that, because those new funds can only be used for probation. So there are a lot of funds involving the jail that were combined and commingled with that. So working that out. And then they were able to sign a contract with the Marshal Services. And I think there were 23 involved this last month. Tri-Valley, we had our meeting that consisted of evaluation of our CAO, Jason. Those results came out very positive. He had to fill in the last almost 6 months as we were selecting a new Head Start supervisor, and he had done that before, so he was able to basically do those 2 jobs for half a year. The bus, that garage is going to begin construction this spring. We were able to get some federal and state funding for that, so that was a little bit of a surprise. They do have kind of a new program or a Crookston Summer Fun Pass, it's called, for ages 5 through 17. And so for $60 or 140 per family, they have that as an opportunity now, particularly for children, to get to t-ball, swimming, softball, whatever they've got, doctor's appointments, those types of things. And that would run from June through August, Crookston only. So that's a good deal. Financial budget and information. As you recall, maybe 6 weeks ago, Ron was here and I asked him if he was familiar with the Tricony Corrections budget formula, which on one sheet tells us exactly where I'm at, where the budgets are. This was an end of the year one. But I'd asked him if he had able to move on that as to what he could come up with for us. And so I met with him yesterday, and he was actually very excited to be able to do this. And he loves doing this type of work, so that's good. But he wanted me to take a look, and I don't know if he showed these yet to Chuck yet, but I suggested that maybe we try to get him on the agenda for next week, just to take a look if he's going the right direction with this. But we thought maybe then having all the budgets all on one sheet, that maybe we have a really simple one on just each individual fund. Okay. So that's kind of the direction I think we probably will want to go. So he had put up an example for me, and he'll share these with you next week. What this one is, Fund 3, Public Works, Road and Bridge revenues and expenditures so far. 1% has been spent, and one on Fund 18, Public Health. So I think this will give us a lot more information on our budget than we've had in the past, and I think have been wanting to do so. And then he also shared with me that he had a Polk County budget actual comparison on the 2023 year. And as we move into next year's year budgeting, it's kind of important to know where we ended up at the end of 2023, as we kind of made some guesses as to where we would end up in setting up our budget for 24. So we've got that, and then we can kind of decide if we want to do with some quarterly reports or what exactly we want to do with that. I have a Laurel Regional Library meeting this Thursday. I'm on the executive committee. We're meeting also with the finance committee to start taking a look at, again, the 25 budget. And everyone is suggesting that we look at a different formula. And so that's where we're going to start with that. I think I mentioned we had a preview of what the new Moorhead Library looked like. And the plan is for the Laurel to move from the current library Moorhead to the new. And I see what on the agenda is funding for furniture for the new project with question mark, question mark, question mark. So we don't know what that is. We don't also know, and I've been pressing for, what is our rent going to be in the new facility. And so there's a lot of answers to be filled out with that. But I see we do have at least a preliminary draft to discuss on Thursday. I've given the opportunity, and I think I've called at least 3 or 4 mayors in Polk County to see if they would be willing to come in and meet with the commissioners for maybe a half hour, give us a little update what their community is up to, what their challenges have. And I think we've got pretty much set with the Stainbrook here in Crookston, but still waiting from East Grand Forks, and I think Fawston was the other one that I contacted. So we'll see if they want to take advantage of that and just give us a little update. And congratulations to the Fertile basketball team. Wow, that's second place, I think, in state. And they've been just wrapping them up.
Yep, they did good.
That's good. So, Mark,
Uh, One comment and two hot topics. There's a party that gave me a phone call, Kevin Clifton. He's up in Higdon Township, kind of along the river, approximately just inside the county line, south of Oslo. Anyway, he's new to this property, I believe 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. Some discussion was started through the Middle River Snake Watershed Office about his dike situation. His dike is failing and it's causing damage to his residential house and so forth and so on. Anyway, they indicated that he possibly eligible for a buyout. He reached out to me, and I also then in turn turned over his information to Jacob Snyder. And Jake and I spoke yesterday, and Jody Beauchesne was actually up there yesterday reviewing the site, so forth and so on. So it's in process. You may hear some information or whatever coming forward on that potential buyout. And from what I understand, there possibly money available through the Red River Basin Board for mitigation of property, so forth and so on. Apparently, Jake was familiar with one that happened down by Neilsville. He didn't remember when it was, 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. So, um, but I just wanted to mention that the ball's rolling and information will be coming forward. The other hot topic, two hot topics. 220 North is going to be reconstructed apparently this coming summer. I've had a rash of phone calls in the last 3 weeks here because apparently somebody's contacted the DOT office. I don't know where, but and Rich has come to us with signage and so forth and so on Polk County Road 65, and then also the county road, gravel road to the west. But the big concern there is apparently this project's not starting until right around the 4th of July. You got Harvest, Trans Systems, and American Crystal, which needs to modify their harvest requirements, so forth and so on, to mitigate, movements and so forth and so on. I don't think anybody understands the amount of trucks that utilize 220 North, and it's a big concern. And I think it's in the counties. Yes, it's 220 is a state project, but I don't think the state necessarily cares about American Crystal. And I think it would be good for, and I'm asking for a community meeting uh, driven by us to mitigate this because it is going to affect Polk County Road 65 and the amount of traffic that's going to be coming down the north-south route. And leading into that is also the roundabout on 21 and 75. Received a bunch of phone calls on that one here recently. Apparently, there's survey sticks out in the field, so forth and so on. We have an agenda item today to discuss that easement. There again, I'm calling for a public meeting on that roundabout. I was promised one when I first got on the commission when we were over at the transfer station before this thing went down the road too far. And apparently things are going on. And from my understanding, and I haven't confirmed this with Rich, is the roundabout construction's going on at the same time as 220. So it's going to create a problem, and we just need to work through that. So, like I said, I'm making two two requests for some type of public input meeting, or at least explain the processes and so forth and so on, and what's going on with these two projects.
I'm wondering where the July start information came from, because it's been May start is everything that I've seen, including a news release that came just last week. Said start in May and should be done in August.
Yeah,
Well, I don't think it's gonna get done in August regardless, but
yeah,
the start in May is pretty evident in that news release. So I'm wondering where the July information came from.
yeah.
If
I,
it's factual or if it's something that,
and that's a comment I got by some farmers calling, and I don't know if it was what state office they called, but even the American Crystal people, been talking to Harrison Weber, who's the director of the transportation of the Red River Valley Sugar Beet Growers Association. Nothing from the state has even come to them or American Crystal on this project. And they're getting to the point where if they got to make modifications, it's still early, enough to make the modifications to the harvest situation, but they need to plan and relocate tonnage of,
yeah,
harvest, pre-pile harvest and so forth and so on. Once harvest starts, it's not necessarily a problem. It's pre-pile harvest, which this year could be started very early in August. So it's a big concern. And even with the roundabout, apparently Harrison Weber has been in contact with Mr. Sanders. Apparently there was an understanding there would be a meeting of the party, all parties involved. And matter of fact, we had a meeting in Tabor for after Easter. I forget the day. I think it was Wednesday, and he said he drove up that way, saw the sticks, survey sticks out there, and he goes, "When did the county decide to go ahead with this project?" And so forth and so on. So I think it's important that we have public meetings
mhm.
to bring in all the parties that got concerns on these two projects. So that's
That,
it.
that news release from the DOT this week showed the detour routes and including, well, both for the roundabout and for 220. So there should be a map coming out, I believe, in our newsletter coming out, and also in the new East Grand Forks newspaper, and possibly the Cookson paper. I don't know if they got that same release or not,
If you could forward that to me, because
but okay,
I didn't get anything. So
all right. But like I say, those news releases talk about a May start, not July, and I'm wondering if that is factual.
yeah, yeah.
And it's a $19 million job, so
Yeah,
it's big time.
it's a big project, and from my understanding, it's a total regrading and rebuilding
Oh
of
yes, oh
the
yes.
deck of 220. So it's any rain delays is going to back that project up a lot. So
It'll 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 be an issue.
yep. So all right, thank you.
That's correct. That is in the newsletter. That's
There is a story on both projects.
okay. And
On 220, there is its own story, and then Rich also talks about the roundabout.
and
Talk about that in both stories.
and when will that be distributed?
That'll go out in about roughly a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you. Anything
Okay.
else?
Nope, I'm done. Thank you.
Joan,
Um,
congratulations with a little baby there.
thank you. Yep, we're pretty proud of that little
I would think
boy.
so.
He's a good little boy, but he's already given his grandpa complex. So,
Wow.
because every time when I would give him to Mark, if he was sleeping or something, he would be content for a little bit, and then he'd start crying. So, yeah. So, and I mean, I gladly took him back. So,
Congratulations on your promotion to grandma.
thank you. So last week, the White Earth Tribe, some of the representatives met with the Becker County commissioners, and the chairman and the secretary treasurer were not there because they were actually in St. Paul meeting with officials in regards to the land back bill. There's still a lot of disagreements on things going on with that. But the one thing that I thought was interesting, which is not incorrect information, is the tribe is claiming that AMC supports the legislation, which is not true. So there's a question of where they, where they came up with that information. And so AMC, especially, Julie Ring has been at the legislatures trying to make that point clear that we do not support this bill. And so, yeah, we'll be meeting again now in a couple weeks here. And then we had Sand Hill One Watershed One Plan. We approved our bylaws. We did make one small change to it, but it's just minor. And we have decided we're following like a lot of the other One Watershed plans of meeting twice a year. And so now, since we have all the approvals, once the information gets put into the e-link, we will receive our first batch of funding in May. So we have a lot of projects that are shovel ready that the funds can be used for right away. And let's see here. And then I had I was on the AMC legislative update yesterday. Still a lot of things going on. The one interesting thing is that, according to statute now, the legislature is only allowed so many days on the floor. And so they're at about 20 days that they have left to be on the floor. And the last day is scheduled for May 20th. So it'll be interesting to see how those numbers play out. A lot of discussion on bills with the Health and Human Services, and we touched on a lot of those with our social service meeting this morning. There was a lot of discussion in regards to the Tyler settlement with regards to the tax forfeiture. Right now, in the target budget, there's 109 million that is included to cover supposedly surplus money that counties and school districts and townships that have received in previous forfeiture sales. But currently right now, the preliminary number that's coming from the counties is over 133 million. So that 109 is short, and I don't know how, where that'll be made up or how. And so these dollar figures are coming from June of 2016 through December of 2023. And for Polk County estimates, there's like 50 parcels and a little over $961,000. And then, they're trying, there's just a lot of moving parts in this, and they're looking at having percentages of if you have a parcel that you have in your possession for less than 2 years, it's a smaller percentage of the surplus dollars you'd have to pay back. If you hold it for longer than 2 years, then it's a higher percentage because they've classified it as taking, even though, it's forfeited back, to the counties. So, just a lot of questions going on that yet. With the public safety, there was talk about allowing all the phone calls from the inmates to be no charge. As of right now, that's not included in any of the bills. So, but that could change. The funding for the EMS is moving along right now. It's at 122 million, but that's still a lot less than what is actually needed for our rural EMS entities. Not very much talk on bonding because, that's, we'll probably see that like in the next couple weeks. I'll kind of start coming out with that. Still a lot of discussions in regards to cannabis. As of right now, the local control for our zoning, operation time and placing of businesses, is still safe as far as with the local control. There's discussion where they're looking at jumpstarting the social equity licenses and then how the regulations of and the implementations for those licenses are going to be handled. Still some discussion in regards to elections of locations on campuses. And so the requests from these campuses can either be from the facility themselves or their student or their student senate committees can make those requests. And as of right now, there's no population requirements as far like initially there was, if it was under 2,000 students, that they would not be eligible to request a campus voting site. But they've taken that out. And actually right now that part of the bill it's in the House bill, but not the Senate. So just a lot of moving parts down there yet. And, and as always, some are good and some are not so good. So, and I will be back in St. Paul on Friday because I have an AMC Board of Directors meeting. So, beginning a update again on the legislature there. So.
All right, thank you much.
One item I would like to point out, or
Yes.
bring up, I had a call or a conversation with a constituent this week, and he was all concerned about the appraised price for some undeveloped lots in East Grand Forks. In the mailing that he got out, those lots were appraised at $60,000. He said, "Whoa, that's twice what they should be." So he asked me about it, and I got in contact with a person at the assessor's office. So he called him and he told about the issue, and the person in the office said, "Well, we screwed up." He said, "There's a problem with the software and such. We screwed up. We'll get it fixed." And it really impressed my constituent. He thought that was the greatest thing he'd ever heard. Somebody would admit that they made a mistake at the government level.
We make mistakes all the time.
That's why I made you aware of them last meeting.
All right. Sheriff Tadman,
Good morning.
morning. You've got some reports for us.
About a lot that I have.
Sure.
Today I'm just going to go over the month of March sheriff's report. And the first item is our documented service statistics. March 2024, we had 122 that came in for the office with a total of paid services 4,432.24 with no charge services of 2,170.22. Our transports for the month of March, we had a total of 7,565 miles. We had medical facilities 65, mental health 610. Our in-state prison transports of 2633, out of state 2515, and other counties 927. Medical examiner's office was 129, and our federal transport, excuse me, was 685. So with that, we had 154 hours of transport time for the deputies during these transports. And here's again the breakdown of, so still busy with the U.S. Marshals. Usually seem to be 2 or 3 a week, but it's just, I suppose it's their court time busy time. So this year's total so far, we have 23,436 miles of transports for the breakdown as of January 2024. So in our calls for our dispatch center, we had a total of, those are hard to see, but total of 2,239. Our emergency calls were 568, and the calls for service emergency incoming, our wireline is 72, wireless is 464, voice over portal that's coming in internet service is 27. We had 2 texts for the month, so again, total of 2,239.
So there's 6 times more calls that come in by cell phone
Oh, yeah.
versus,
Yeah, that's usually what it is. That come there's just the breakdown it shows on
and
there.
how many of those are duplicates? You got them percentage wise.
It depends. It should stayed in here, but depends on the duplicates, and I can check on that. But I mean, but the same accident?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they still have to take them and still have to answer them the same
Yep.
way and still handle them and still say, yes, we got that information, or is this new information? So I suppose just like the train accident yesterday, that's a busy bypass road. I'm sure they got tons of calls on that yesterday. So our calls for service for the month of March, we had first page here is animal complaints. We had 10, the lost and found 4. Agencies assist, we had 22. Civil processes that we did through is 226. In our domestic, violent, nonviolent, we had a total of 5, with 2 being violent. So emotional distress, 5. 5 fight calls that we went to. And then info tips that come in, we had received 10 for the month. And then our motorist assist, we had 15. Page 2, we had a total of 5 crashes, with 1 being an injury accident, the rest being that property damage. Predatory offender checks for the month, we had 25. That's when the deputies go out to those residents located in our county and check to see everything is up to date with their vehicles and where they're living, and that they're still accountable for everything that they have on their the sheet that they're supposed to turn into us. So we had 77 school patrol, and then our traffic stops down below, because you can see we had 120 traffic stops for the month of March. And welfare checks, we had a total of 14. And so we had a total of 700 that came in through the month of March. That's all I have, short and sweet.
Any questions?
Questions? Concerns? And I think, Chuck, did you take care of the resolution? Oh, and then we had the resolution 2024-24, and this is accepting the financial donations on behalf of Polk County Sheriff's Office. We received a $100 donation from Doris Lean, and she wanted to go towards the K-9 program. So one of the deputies stopped out and thanked her and took a picture with her, so she was pretty pumped up. So
Very nice.
Yeah.
Important to say thanks.
yeah,
We need a motion to accept this donation, I suspect.
So move.
By Warren, second by Joan. Questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
We'll do it. Karen's up.
Good morning.
Morning.
My first agenda item is we had an eligibility worker resign in our income maintenance unit. So I'm looking for a request to approve the filling of an eligibility worker position and any internal subsequent position vacancies occurring because of this action.
Is there a motion to move forward with that?
So moved.
Mark, is there a second?
second.
Warren. Questions? If not, we've had a preliminary review earlier this morning, so I didn't anticipate any, but If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2,
Our child protection supervisor resigned, and so I'm looking for a motion to approve the filling of a social service supervisor for our child protection unit and to fill any internal subsequent position vacancies occurring because of this action.
is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Joan, is there a second?
Second.
Any questions of Karen? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3,
We had a social worker resign in our adult services unit who provides long-term care and mid-choice assessments, and I'm looking for a motion to approve filling the social work position and then to fill any internal subsequent position vacancies occurring because of this action.
is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Warren, is there a second? I will second that. Any additional questions? We're voting on number 3, Paul. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried. Number 4,
We had two child protection social workers resign from the agency in our child protection team. I'm looking for a motion to approve filling 2 social worker child protection specialist positions and to fill any internal subsequent position vacancies occurring because of this action.
So moved.
thank you. Joan, is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? And we understand how critical those positions are based on the information we were reminded again this morning.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 5,
I have a request for an out-of-state travel request for Victoria Ramirez, our social service manager, so she can attend the member convening conference in Washington, D.C. from May 7th to the 10th of this year. So I'm looking for a motion to approve her out-of-state travel.
is there a motion?
So move.
Paul, second.
You just did, didn't you?
That was a,
You said second, so I assumed you seconded.
I will second it, correct. Any questions?
Do you know
Tori's here.
approximate total for all the expenses?
Tori, do you have a cost on it?
Well, last year, it was canceled and rescheduled, so, so the cost really is minimal, just basically.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Enjoy Washington, D.C. Number 6,
This morning at the Social Service Board, we talked about a contract that I'd like to enter into with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council to provide housing services and housing stabilization services. It'll be in the amount of $123,000. And the effective dates will be April 16th, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. So I'm looking for approval to move forward with that contract.
is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mark? Is there a second?
Second.
By Joan. Any other questions regarding that contract agreement? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And number 7,
This morning at our social service board meeting, John Street, our eligibility supervisor, gave an explanation of the changes in this contract. It's a contract amendment in our rates for medical assistance clients and county clients with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council. It's a rate change from $11 to $12.10 for curb-to-curb unassisted transportation and a rate for door-to-door assisted transportation of $14.30. So I'm looking for a motion to approve this 2024 transportation contract amendment change with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council.
is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Warren, And is there a second?
Second.
Mark. Did this include some gas
Sorry,
pricing? It's also included some gas pricing
there was
adjustments,
Quarterly adjustment.
quarterly adjustments, right?
Mhm, mhm.
All right. Any other specific questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
motion carries. Anything else, Karen?
No, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good day.
Thank you. Darren, Highway.
Good morning.
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 Let's see. You have to bear with me. Rich didn't go over his agenda, but
Columbia Bridge, Township Bridge
that one
is
first.
the first one on our list.
So we had a letting for Columbia Township on March 22nd. The bids came in about 50% over engineer's estimate.
It was shocking.
We had two bidders. It sounded like it was kind of a tight window. So funding for this is through MnDOT and Burlington Northern. They both recommend rebidding and then rejecting bids and rebid.
Over $2 million, as I recall.
That came in
Wow.
at 2.3, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so your recommendation is motion.
Reject, reelect for May 22nd, and we'll have completion date of November of 2025.
Okay, is there a motion to proceed?
So moved.
Joan, is there a second?
Second.
Paul, any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2 was county ditch maintenance request.
The regions of UMC, there's a ditch on the north side of the UMC where they would like, there's some trees growing up. So they would like us to go and clean, remove trees.
Okay. Is there a motion to proceed?
I'll move.
Warren. I'll second that. Any questions regarding the ditch maintenance?
You're requesting that? I mean,
Yes.
something that we should do. Yep, yep.
Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Number 3, drainage easement.
Our roundabout project on our county 21 and the state 75, we're purchasing 4 acres from Angus Acres. And with, well, we got to put drain or with snow fence within that area. And there's drain tile in there. So we need to have an agreement with the landowner, who is, I'm not even sure who has that, Don Strickler, I believe. So a motion to leave their drain tile within our new permanent easement.
Is there a motion to proceed?
I'll move.
Warren, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Joan. Questions?
Question. I've spoken to the Stricklers concerning the easement, and that was one of their big concerns, was their drain tile with this roundabout project. Who is going to pay for the drain tile to be relocated, so forth and so on. Apparently an agreement has been reached, and I believe they're satisfied. On item number 1 there, Polk County purchased 3.9 acres. When did the actual purchase occur, or has it occurred? Or
No, it's completed now. I think Rich was dealing with them, so we just completed it because it had to be done before the plans were signed, so.
Did this involve the outlet then? By this roundabout, is the outlet for this drain tile, is that?
No, his pumping, and I've been out there, the roundabout location and the approximate property is a ways away from the pumping.
Okay,
It's just the tile that's in the ground that
just the
goes.
tile, we're not gonna
How's it?
replace all this, the
No,
pump and
no,
everything.
no,
That
no.
was my question.
Yep. And I believe on the south side of 21, there was a bigger concern there, correct?
Yeah,
Because that
we
one,
staked out the right of way for them, and there'll be some additional purchase through, uh, because how his fields run down there.
and I'm not opposed to this drainage easement because, like I said, I've talked to the Stricklers, and I think it's a win-win for both for the county and for the farmer. The drain tile is going to help. They're going to pump the water from the snow fence, help the county out a little bit, if you would, uh, and removing the saturation standpoint in that area, for years to come. Uh, my concern is, like I stated earlier, this roundabout project and how fast we're moving here. And apparently, according to the Stricklers, they've negotiated and so forth and so on as far as a price and so forth and so on. And I think everything is okay on that way. But it's from other parties involved in this roundabout construction area. And I mentioned earlier, I would like to have a area meeting, public meeting, some point in the future here to discuss that roundabout construction, when it's going to start, the timeline. And there's a lot of parties involved. Crystal Sugar apparently was involved in discussion with Rich last fall, December type thing, and nothing's as far as the size of the roundabout to meet trend systems and Crystal's requirements. And the other one I've spoken to is CHS with moving of fertilizer. There's a big depot in Warren that trucks a lot of, they use 75 a lot
This,
and so forth
this
and so
road
on.
is 75 and 23, is that what you're talking?
And
21. And
Between
there's,
Anderson and Euclid.
and I
Oh, I got
understand
it, I got
from the your department's arena, but it just seems to me there's a lot of public concern about the timeline and when this project is going to be initiated, then where we're going to go. So that's why I'm calling for a public meeting sometime beginning of May, if you would, because logistically things are going to have to be moved around, and then with the complexity of State 220 being reconstructed, Polk County 20 and 65 are going to take a lot of an abuse uh, from these two projects, and I I got concerns in that area living up there and having to transport products, and so do a lot of other people. So
yeah, I'll visit with Rich. There's no letting set yet because we don't have the plans back. So, if we want to do it before we let it or after it's let, so we have the contractor or what, that we'll have to decide.
when you mention that, what is the letting schedule? Don't know
Well,
yet.
we wanted to have it let by now, but MinDOT, they have the plans, they're going through signatures, still being reviewed. Um, so we really don't know where it's at.
Yep, yep. Okay. Well, like I said, I reached out to Rich, and apparently he's out of town, but
Mhm.
because we did get that email on the turn back on 220, but I didn't get a response back from him on that topic yet. So, but we'll, I'll contact him also
Yeah.
for the public meeting.
So
So,
that, WITSES will be involved. They did the design, so, they'd
Yep.
want to be there to explain any issues and
there's just a lot of
lot of
logistics that
MnDOT.
need to happen this, that I just want the bases covered from all the entities. So, thank you.
Concerning the 220 work, what is the start date on that? There's some confusion.
On the state 220,
Yeah,
yeah, and I haven't heard 100%. We just started our box culvert on 21, just west of there. And Knife River wanted to get ours done before they started, and I thought they were talking, early. So, but
like I
I
said,
haven't
there
heard
was
of
a
a firm date from.
news release that came just this week from MnDOT instead indicated a May start on the 220 work,
Mhm.
but there's some confusion as maybe it was later than that.
Oh, I heard May, so
Yeah,
no,
But is that
exactly.
earthwork or is that surveying?
Yeah,
well, yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
but it's supposed to be done in August, and I can't believe that that'll happen, but I've never seen a project gets done that quickly.
They're doing that whole stretch of 220 north.
It's about 9 miles or so. It goes to where it makes the turn. It's a prebular turn there. Where County Road 23 comes in
Yep.
from the,
23, and then what, 2 years from now, it finishes going north.
was going from there to Alfredo.
Yeah, I haven't seen the plan, but I think it's a total reconstruction with new concrete and everything for
Yeah.
it. So,
New base, everything.
so it's
It's a $19 million job.
a
So
big project.
it's up there.
Well, getting back to this drainage easement, any further questions on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed, motion carried. One last item.
Last item, we purchased 14 by 14 foot box culverts from MnDOT a year or so ago. We got them at half the price, and
Right.
Rich maybe talked to you about that.
Right.
But now we're going to be putting them on number 9. So we have that let, and the construction is going to start probably next week. So we need to pay Oldcastle for the materials as they get hauled out next week.
And they're coming from where we bought. They were used ones, right? Or not used ones.
They're still at the plant,
They're
so
at-
they're
yeah.
just they've been stockpiled there
They just
for
been
us.
stuck like
So we need to pay them, and then we'll get reimbursed through our
that.
bridge bonding dollars.
so move.
Second.
Second. Any questions? It's $159,620. Purchase and transportation.
They're hauling them, right?
Further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried. Sign of a check or a credit card.
That's all I have.
E-cards are good. All right, thank you much.
Thank you much.
Darren, let me sign these for you before you go.
4-H extension.
Who am I signing? Or the
Mark.
Gary signing it?
County Road 66, not 65.
Yep, 66.
Co-sign that.
I'm used to 65.
This one I think is for who's ever
Katie, do you want your
commissioner
camera
of
on?
that district.
This one here, that one.
Thank you.
There she is.
There she was.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Perfect.
Yeah. he looks-
Welcome, Katie.
Someone
This is
got
Gary.
a list of things. There's this one too.
Thank you guys for letting me join virtually today. And I know Margot's there in person to give my update for you.
She is.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Margot Bowerman, and Katie, as you know, Katie Becker is our 4-H educator here in Polk County. I'm a regional educator, and you may know Lisa Logring is our regional director. Katie would love to be here in person, but due to illness, she can't, so I am filling in for Katie. And just thank you for allowing us the time today to talk about the impact that 4-H is having here in Polk County. In youth development, we're often asking youth to reflect on their learning and their leadership, and we've been doing the same as educators in how we think about Polk County. So today we want to highlight some of the ways that we're helping youth in our community in Polk County thrive through learning and leading through 4-H. So Minnesota 4-H reaches over 41,000 people across the state. And here in Polk County, we reach 146 young people. And we do this as a team. We work as local educators in concert with partners within the county as well as volunteers, including state program leaders and different partners. And we work to give youth an opportunity to find a passion and to follow that passion and develop learning and leading through following that passion. And today we just want to talk about or highlight some of the data and the stories that give an example of how we provide those supportive and safe spaces for young people to learn and lead. Here in Polk County, we have one dedicated 4-H staff person, and last year, as I mentioned, we had 146 young people participate in 4-H. This past year, we added a support staff to help Katie. And as a result of that, freeing up Katie from doing some of those administrative duties, we were able to see an increase of about 32% increase in youth enrollment. The first year is really an important one when we invite young people or get young people into our program. They get to meet new friends. We want to have them give a good experience. And 2/3 of those first year members came from people who hadn't been a part of 4-H before. We call them first generation 4-H families. And in Polk County, we really work to be innovative and also welcoming for our new families. And this past year, with having a support staff, it was able to free Katie up to provide more program opportunities so that we could target young people who haven't been a part of 4-H or haven't had a touch point with 4-H. And as a result of this, we had almost a 70% increase in first year members from our previous year. Youth learn by developing. We work to develop that passion in their area of interest. And this involves introducing young people to new learning environments and giving them an opportunity to showcase what they've learned in formal ways, such as fairs or judging events, and informally through their club or project work. And in this example, Katie is one of our 4-Hers, and she says, growing up in 4-H and showing through the years, I've had many great opportunities to help the younger kids and learn from older members. If it wasn't for showing livestock, I wouldn't be who I am today. I've been able to step outside my comfort zone and be the best self I could be through 4-H. And although Katie has recently graduated out of our 4-H program, she's continuing to provide her leadership as a screen volunteer in our program. Within our local program, we design opportunities for youth to learn about their projects and other areas too, such as STEM or performing arts, plant science, animal science, outdoor education. We try and use that opportunity for a young person to, we hook them in with their tool and we give them those life skills through developing that passion. Over 83 participants across Polk County have reported applying what they learned through 4-H to other parts of their lives. And in this picture here, we partnered with Clay County 4-H to bring some young people from East Grand Forks, a 4-H club from East Grand Forks, to the Oceanarium in Moorhead. And then we took them to the Junior Leaders Workshop where they got to develop leadership skills with youth from across Northwest Minnesota. We're also incredibly grateful for all the partners partnerships and support that we get throughout Polk County. And it helps us continue to build the 4-H program here. During this past winter, we partnered with SNAP-Ed as well as the Cove here in Crookston to provide a new program for young people in Crookston. And through this program, we reached 28 young people, and 25 of them were brand new to 4-H. And this program was designed for middle school youth to learn healthy living habits and learn how to prepare their own meals. We offered a total of six sessions. And at a recent event that Katie was at, one of the parents of one of these young people came up to her and kind of gave a little testimonial about what it meant to her daughter. Her daughter was shy and quiet, and through this program, she developed confidence and has really started to come out of her shell. So it was really a nice experience. You can hear that from parents about the impact that 4-H has had. Of course, anyone who has attended a local showcase, our county fair, has seen and experienced youth in action. And in these environments, young people share the projects they've been working on all year, from cows to cookies to the perfect photography shot. And youth have the opportunity to talk with a judge who's knowledgeable in their field and reflect on their learning. And it's not just at state and county fairs. There's also many other opportunities that our young people are able to showcase their learning. We have a state dog show, a state horse show, a state engineering design challenge. This year in particular in our Polk County Fair, we had 92 young people exhibit at the Polk County Fair for over 650 projects. And with a breakdown, we had 256 livestock projects and over 400 general projects or non-livestock projects. This year, almost a little over 4 out of every 5 Polk County 4-H'ers reporting having opportunities to learn in their clubs or through their projects. And providing young people with the opportunity to learn is a key concept in delivering high quality programs. And as leaders, youth can innovate and be agents of change in their programs, in their communities, and their world. And young people often start their leadership journey within their club, becoming officers within their club. And then we provide additional pathways for them to continue to develop that leadership, such as through a camp counselor program. Another pathway is working with other caring adults to offer a project workshop to younger 4-H leaders. And in this picture, Ben is delivering a project, taught a project to younger 4-H'ers at a project day. And Ben has also worked with other adults to deliver other project areas. I can think of one where he worked with another adult to give kids demonstration skills to learn how to communicate. We also believe that in preparing youth to lead in the future, we give them opportunities to lead today. And through 4-H programs this year, 92% of young people across Polk County reported gaining confidence in their leadership abilities. Providing these opportunities to teach youth important skills that will serve them as they mature. And in this picture is Wesley, who was our Polk County 4-H president last year. And I love this quote. Wesley says, "4-H has influenced me mostly to be a better person, to be more kind and be involved with others and make friends. I've learned to see challenges as opportunities, to not settle for less, and always work towards a goal of trying new things and taking chances." And I love this quote because for me, it articulates the elements of a good leader. So really a good example of what we're hoping to accomplish through 4-H. Young people in 4-H are 3 times more likely to be engaged in their communities through community service. And through volunteer work, youth get connected to their community and learn that how they can be change makers in their local area. 89% of Polk County 4-H'ers believe they're capable of making a difference in their communities. Our dog club here in Polk County volunteered at the Scruffy Tails Humane Society, helping to socialize and train dogs and provide some exposure to dogs that had been there for a really long time. We have 53 screened and approved volunteers that support youth learning and leading in Polk County. And research tells us that having relationships with caring adults can be a pivotal factor in a young person's development. 94% of youth in Polk County reported feeling a sense of belonging in our programs. And our dedicated volunteers are really the ones that make that happen. They help us reach more youth, help them feel like they belong, and they bring their own expertise and experience to improve young people's learning, or to get them to build that passion for a project. And we have systems where we train and support those volunteers. And we really work to continue to strive for every young person to develop that sense of mastery through project learning. And it's because of volunteers like Chuck and Sharon here that help us move towards that goal. And Chuck and Sharon say that they became leaders because the other families in their club had gone independent, and we were forced with a choice to either step up as leaders or let 4-H be done in our local area. And they say now that their kids are adults, their kids have testified to them how important 4-H was for them and giving them the confidence to speak before others, to do projects, and to meet new friends. And this was supposed to be a video. I don't know if we have an opportunity to play that or. All right. This was a video. It was Katie's sister talking about the leadership that she's gained through Polk County 4-H. So maybe we can send that separately. Yeah. But with that, Katie's online to answer questions, as well as Lisa and I are here to hear. But we really want to thank you for helping us to be for being a partner for young people in Polk County through Polk County 4-H. And with that, if do you have any questions or anything you'd like to know?
Well, Katie certainly has a compassion for working with youngsters.
Yes, she does.
And Katie, what's the most exciting part of the position for you?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I would definitely have to say just letting kids explore and experience their sparks. I have a very big passion around outdoor. So I would definitely say like the outdoor adventure and camps is kind of a passion of mine.
Even in bad weather.
Well, I know it's hectic, but you certainly seem to enjoy the county fair.
County fair is definitely a highlight of mine as well.
And you've had some successful state winners, I think, 4-Hers.
Yes, we have several 4-Hers that go to state events. I was just going to say another highlight of mine just recently is I actually got to attend a national camp conference out in New Jersey about a month ago. And my colleague and I were actually able to highlight the 4-H camp that happens right here in Polk County. And so that was a really neat opportunity to be able to highlight that at a national conference.
Commissioners, any other questions, comments?
Thanks for what you do, Katie.
Thank you guys for taking the opportunity to listen to our impact about Polk County 4-H today.
Appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you at the fair. I think we've got do we have an extension meeting coming up fairly soon? Fairly soon. May 9th. Very good, Sam. He's got it on his calendar. All right. Who is up next? Colleen Hoffman, come on up.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm gonna get the audit up. I just got a copy of it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, you might have to bring a chair, not you, but I'm sitting
I'm
in
good
one
standing.
right here now.
Yesterday was my 40th anniversary of doing governmental audits. I started with the state auditor in 1984.
You must be exhausted.
I know it's invigorating.
All right.
She's the Energizer Bunny.
You
Perfect.
guys are a particular challenge.
Well, obviously you enjoy what you're doing.
Awesome.
And as Warren knows,
Thank you.
because
Yeah.
we go way back. I
Welcome
started
back.
auditing in Polk County in the 80s when I worked for the state auditor's office.
Okay.
And after the 40 years, we've evolved into now we have a private firm, and I have two brilliant CPAs as partners, Crystal Phillip from the Goodrich area, Martin Martell from the Thief River area. And we have a couple staff members, and we actually just hired a couple interns from the college here in Crookston. So they're going to work with us for the summer. So that's
Good.
kind of exciting. Yeah.
It
We
is.
like the internship idea because then if they work out, you can
Yep.
offer them the job. And if they don't, you don't.
Good thing. Yeah, good
So
thing.
yeah, so it's going to be great. We're pretty excited about it.
Sure.
It's great to be back in Polk County. A lot of old familiar faces, I mean, and some are leaving. It was great to see Doug again upstairs, and Arla before she left, and so we go Val. I've known all these people all these years and worked together, and we are a little bit confused as to the lack of progress in the financial department as far as information that's available to you. So you as the commissioners are the governing board, which means you set the tone at the top for the entire county. So you hold a high ethical work standard. Everything is going to be by the book. It's going to be right. It's going to be legal, and it's going to be done right. And that attitude will trickle down to all of your department heads in the whole county, and then that will trickle down into all the employees in the whole county, and that trickles down into all your constituents and your town boards and your school district people and the whole Polk County. We want to hold everybody to the highest ethical standard. So that's my little pep talk on the tone at the top. Just be aware that's your number one job as the governing board is to set that tone, and then make the reasonable person decisions as far as policy, evaluating, budgeting, things like that. As far as the audit report goes, this is 2022, embarrassingly late. And normally I wouldn't even belabor these numbers because we're already starting the 23 audit.
Mhm.
But I do want to point out to you some things in here. And I think it might be up there, but we'll go to quick to just page 5.
You can scroll through if you want on the.
Oh, she's got it. Management discussion and analysis. If you can't read through the whole report, this is like a 5 or 6 page document that comes from Polk County to the readers of the audit report. So it's just the financial highlights, an overview, page 9 and 10. There's color graphs here to kind of compare you where the money comes in from, where it goes to. This document is kind of it's a required part of your audit report, and there's a lot of boilerplate in here, but there's also it's customized for you, how your funds are doing, what's going up, what's going down. So try to read that document at least. Page 14, the financial position of the county as a whole. This tells you that the county is worth $156 million. So that's a huge amount of money that you are, and that's the net value. So that's after subtracting depreciation, after subtracting debt and assets minus debt. So that bottom line is really what the county is worth financially, and that's the amount you have to manage. So then page 15 and 16, that's your budget here. I mean, you're spending what are we spending? $70 million a year. And that's a lot of money. So I'm hoping that as we move forward in the next 3 years, we can get you more current financial information so you feel like you know what's going on more. Like for instance, you have 2 enterprise funds, the Resource Recovery Fund and the Landfill Fund. Both of those funds are basically losing money now on paper. And we need to drill down on that because they are enterprise funds. They need to pay their own bills. So you have a situation going on with the Environmental Services Fund and then the Landfill and Resource Recovery. And so there's transfers going on in between them all over the place. It makes it very convoluted and unnecessary. So we're working on how we can more directly charge what needs to be charged to each of those funds. Like if a claim comes in, pay it, code it to the fund it belongs in instead of paying it out of one and then transferring the money around to pay their fair shares. That'll really help you with clarity and just seeing what's happening. If we can get rid of some of these transfers going on in between, that's one pretty big thing.
No, that's based on 22 or
Well, it's still going on.
23. You're finding
It's
that
been
stuff.
going on.
Okay.
It's been like this since the last time we did your audit was 2014, and it's nothing has changed.
Gotcha.
So we're making some pretty strong recommendations that some of this stuff actually gets fixed.
Okay.
And I know it's a little harsh, but to do your audit, we need to be independent, and we can't be making suggesting a whole bunch of financial entries in your books. They're your books, so you give us your books, we audit that. So if we have to come in and say, well, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, we need to move this stuff around because that would be right. Now we're getting in the fine line of are we doing the audit or are we just helping you do the books? So we're going to keep that division very clear, and we're just going to recommend that maybe some of these improvements could be made. We're going to really strongly recommend, really strongly, because we want to do the audit efficiently, and we just don't want to tolerate this unnecessary extra work.
Okay.
So page 16 also shows 15 and 16 on the left side on page 15. The expenses are listed by function. So these are the services the county is basically mandated to provide: general government, public safety, highways and streets, sanitation, and so forth. Okay. And that's what is the cost of doing business in that first column there on page 15. Then as you go over to the right, you see here's what we take in directly related to those functions. Here's money we get from the state, either for operating or the next column over is for capital. Like the highway department obviously gets money to build roads, so that's considered in the capital grants column. And then the next column is the net gain or loss of providing those services, which goes down into your general revenues, which is going to show you how much you have to levy to keep providing this level of service. So the detail for these statements here that are in the front is all buried in this audit. I mean, it's very clear and easy to read, but if you could read it and you could ask some questions, we'll just call us. We're here anytime. We can have lunch. We can come over and meet with you somewhere, and we can drill down on some of this and show you, if you're interested, exactly what we're talking about and what this is and what this is, and maybe work on getting you some different looking financial statements so you have some information for your decision making. Then I guess the only couple, I just don't want to take too much of your time here, but the debt. So there's a section in here about the debt that the county has.
Which is on page 40, starting on page 46, 47. And so this will give you an idea of exactly how much debt the county has. So starting on page 47, we've got our governmental activities. That'll give you how much principal and interest is due each year, broken down by year, if you can see that table on the top. And in the bottom, we've got the business type activities, which is your resource recovery and your landfill. So just to give you an idea how far that goes out, right? If we move to the next page, this also breaks it down a little bit better. The next one is governmental activities. Actually, the first one was the capital leases, I'm sorry. And this one is the debt of the county just for governmental. So as you can see, the outstanding balance on that debt is 27 million just for governmental activities. Then going into the business type, a little bit with the closure, post-closure care and contingency costs. We've got that in there too. And then the next section tells you if we move, yeah, page 49. Actually, let's move to page 51. That'll give you beginning balance, how much you've paid and added in 22, and then the ending balances. So that kind of goes all the way down. And you'll notice in the bottom part of that, we've got capital leases, the comp abs, which is the vacation and sick for all of your employees, and then the net pension liability. The net pension liability alone for the county, just government wide, is the 24 million plus the 2 million of the business type. So you're putting 26 million of net pension liability in your books every year. And everybody's familiar with what that is, correct? We've had it for a few years now. Any questions on the debt? At least you have an idea of exactly what you have as the county in those.
The difference between 2026 and 27 is when the jail bonds get paid off.
The jail bonds got paid off in 2022, and you issued some capital improvement. You issued 3 million in capital, round numbers, 3 million in capital improvement bonds in 2022, and you paid off the jail bonds of 5 million. So the general fund took a hit of $2 million by getting those bonds paid off. So that hurt the general fund, but you got those bonds paid off. So if you're looking at this sheet, it's page 48 is going to tell you the interest rates on all of these different bond issues. So, you know, if you're looking at managing the cash of the county as a whole, what's our highest interest rates and what can we afford to get paid off early if we can? And so, I mean, that's a prudent use of money if you're able to pay off some of that higher interest debt. Because right now, well, now it's coming back, but there was some really inexpensive debt there for quite a few
I think
years
Warren is referring to the jail refunding bonds.
that were paid off.
Well, they'll, on page
There's
48,
another.
they're gonna, final maturity is 2026.
That's a different one.
That's the one he's referring
Okay,
to.
yeah, there was two sets of jail bonds.
There's
but-
debt service that goes away
Yes,
after 26.
Right.
yeah, it's coming along. You know, and honestly, the ditches, the county ditches are and watersheds and everybody are all my kind of pet project. I just love that drainage problem, you know, with everybody having their own benefited area and paying their own way type of thing. And you have this ditch and who's benefited and how's this all go? And it's so important to keep those separate. And so I kind of like to dig into that particular one just to make sure. And so far, I mean, you have it in your IFS system so that each ditch has its own cash balance. So it's a lot, but I mean, it's all there and it works really well. So that was an improvement that was made after we were here in 14. We just drilled on that. Let's get the ditches separated. And so then glad to see that happened since then. And then the other thing that happened since we were here was the Chronos time reporting system. So now people can electronically report their time, which really works out great for like the sheriffs and the health people that have all these different shift work and weekend work and things like that. The problem is the payment system in payroll doesn't read the Chronos timesheets. So the timesheets still have to be manually entered into payroll by hand by a person. It has a feature to interface. It was meant to interface back when you got that in 2015. It was meant to interface. So that we really highly recommend that we get that done because that would save a lot of time processing payroll and it would also probably eliminate some errors. We also need the HR department and the payroll department to be working hand in hand. So the information between what's going on and what's being paid needs to jive. And right now there's some fragmentation in that whole process. So we need HR and payroll to be working closely together. Where right now, with the Chronos different than the PayMate, that it really would be beautiful if they could all just meld together, and it would save time, which saves money. So the other thing is the compensated absences, like Crystal mentioned. That's how much sick and vacation time does everybody have coming. It's really for financial reporting, but it's also good for you to know what's our liability for that. So we have to go to everybody, Julie, and all the different departments upstairs and out to the highway, and get their little spreadsheets for us to put that together. It's like, no, you put it together and then give it to us. So we're working on getting a person to be in charge of doing that, so that someone will know how much liabilities out there for the county for sick and vacation liabilities. And the same thing for the capital assets, the property management. You have buildings, you have land, you have equipment, you're buying and computers and leasing and all of this. And there's not really a person in charge of making sure everything is properly listed on the insurance, making sure that they really do have those 1997 cop cars in the sheriff's department. And I mean, some of these things need to be cleaned up. Like somebody needs to get on that. And these are very simple projects that somebody just, okay, you need to clean up capital assets. Go to all the departments and see if they really still do have that old stuff. And then add the new stuff and make sure MCIT gets it on the insurance, and make sure you're not insuring things you don't even own, like buildings that you sold 3 years ago. And there's things that could be improved upon. And so that's kind of like we're frustrated with some of that, but we're here to help you, and we're looking forward to getting it better. So
one other thing, this note section is very good here. One other thing I wanted to point out is on page 52, just to give you an idea of what you've got for fund balance here. And so we know that the restricted by enabling legislation, that is restricted by statute. And so just so you know, and you can see each column is your different funds. But just to give you an idea of what you've got for fund balance in each of your funds, and these are just the major funds. That second to last column is your non-major that are all lumped together and so on. But just to give you an idea of where you're at. So you have 9 million of unassigned in your general fund, which is excellent considering you have 11 million in the general fund. You have a little bit more room there to maybe commit some of those funds for maybe some of your 1 year, 5 year plans that are going to be coming up. And just one more thing to think about, and you've got area to do that because you do have a lot of unassigned balance in that general fund.
as keep in mind, this is 2022.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll be here in a few months with the 23 numbers.
Yes.
Good.
That's great.
There is no reason we shouldn't have this done by September 30th, which is, by the way, the federal deadline. So because your audit is not done by the federal deadline, single audit?
That's the federal programs we have to test. And if you have late reporting, that means you are not low risk, and that just means we have to test 40% of your federal expenditures versus 20% if you were low risk. So it really just means more work for us. It's quite a bit more work. So be on time. That would be super fantastic.
If you turn to page 106, that'll tell you what you spent in federal funds this year. It's broke down by each of the federal program numbers. Page 106.
We had 3 major programs in 22. We did medical assistance, we had ARPA, and highway construction and planning for our 3 major programs.
So we're literally pulling claims, looking through the nitty-gritty detail of all of these programs, you know, to make sure we're following all the federal rules, which is, you know, obviously very important. Last year, in your last 2021 audit, you were written up for a couple problems with the medical assistance eligibility and reporting issues, but that was corrected.
That got
So
corrected.
we
So
were
didn't have
able to-
any findings in medical assistance this year. We were able to clean those 2 findings up. So that was good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're making progress.
And Sherry seems like she's ready and willing to step in and take over and do a good job up there with what Doug was doing, so, and what Randy was doing. I'm excited to work with her. It'll be good. And highway, you worked with highway.
Yep, and we had, I think, 2 or 3 federal highway programs, or projects, I should say. And that ended up being about almost 1.2 million of federal highway money spent. So on page 106 and 107, you can see what we've got there. Which you still have some money left outstanding with that. You spent about almost 1.2 million there. I think we had a little bit more to spend, and we have a plan for that, right? Everything is planned out for that. So those were the 3 programs we tested.
Anybody have any questions? We're kind of going through this pretty fast.
I like your enthusiasm.
Well, we really want you to pay attention and call us. If something in here doesn't seem you want more information, just call us or come to Thief River and shop at L&M, and we're right next door.
Everybody
Stop in. We'll make special. We have a Keurig coffee thing, and we'll give you free coffee.
I'm gonna say her enthusiasm is too much coffee.
That could be.
That's just her.
That is,
You know, honestly, after doing this for literally 40 years, it's just really a challenge. It's really enjoyable because, well, number one, we're babysitting the taxpayers' money, right? There's no monkey business here. I really don't like paying taxes. And you guys are in charge of spending it. So luckily I don't have any money in land in Polk County. But, you know, I mean, it's a big responsibility. So, you know, we want to do our due diligence and be more efficient always. And with us doing, you know, all the counties and cities that we go around and do the audits, we see things that are not working and we see things that are working great. And so we're like, okay, we want to show you how that county's doing it because it could be so much easier for you. And it would be better for informational purposes for your board and for your management people. So if we can share some of that traveling knowledge, that's what we're here for. And I mean, and 2, you know, we make great relationships with the people, you know, like when Randy passed, we were like just awful. I mean, as you all were too, but I mean, you know, you get to know people in their lives and then you go back every year or a couple times a year and you find out who's having grandbabies. Congratulations, Joan. You know, I mean, you know, you get to know the people and you work with them and everybody's on the same ship. And we want to steam ahead and we want to make progress. We're not going to sit back in the 1980s. We are going to move forward.
well, I would say welcome back. You haven't changed a whole lot.
I started when I was 12.
And the other auditors we had were boring by
Yeah. Well, okay. That's a personal problem. When I was in charge of the Thief River crew, you know, that's when we did Polk County, you know, or audited Polk County, I mean, and it was different. The Moorhead crew just had a different dynamic. You know, and then it was under Governor Tim Pawlenty that they closed 5 state auditors' offices around the whole state, like Big Lake and Detroit Lakes and Thief River and down by Mankato. They closed these offices. So then they said, you know, Moorhead was going to be in charge and Duluth was going to be in charge of Northwest Minnesota. And when I said no, this is not happening. So, you know, I sobered up and drove to Minneapolis and I said, you know, you are going to give me my 8 counties and we're going to form a private firm. And they did. And we did. And that's what got us started. And we were the only firm in Minnesota that audited counties because we're the only ones that knew how. Because the state auditor had to do them all by statute. Well, then we got into this fight because other counties said, we want that private guys because they're half the price. Because, you know, I mean, we could do it more efficiently not being government employees, which is another thing for you all to consider. Any of your government services that you can outsource to the private sector, not only will you provide jobs in the private sector, those people pay taxes, and government employment is very high end with the benefits and stuff that you have to pay. It's hard to be competitive. You know, even with what we found in the accounting and the auditing, you know what the state auditor was charging you compared to us. And I mean,
I don't, but I'm learning.
yeah, well, I mean, when I was floored when I heard about this going on, but we kind of got in a fight then with the county board members that were testifying at the legislature that said we want to be able to go find private audits. So all of a sudden, 6 firms in Minnesota started bidding on the audits, and 5 of them have never done a county audit before. So there was a learning curve for some people. So then the state auditor came in and said, they're not doing it right. Well, we kind of got dragged down with that, even though we were the ones that knew what we were doing. It was us she was targeting because we started it. So we went through a nightmare of a war with her, with the whole system, and we just fought it and fought it. We drove down there how many times, and we could have just rolled over and quit, but we didn't. We fought that, and we came out, and now I mean, we're going gangbusters, and they're leaving us alone.
And we all have to follow the same rules. The OSA and the way we do an audit, it's all the same rules. So it's nothing different. It's everybody has to do the same thing.
We all get reviewed by the AICPA, that, you know, our peer review every 3 years, which we just passed our most recent one with a A+ rating. So,
And the state does sometimes make their own rules, but we follow them, and that's how it goes. Our audits are just as good as the OSA can do.
our audits are way better.
Yeah, they are.
They copy us. They totally copy us.
They do. They have copied some of the information that we put in the audits, and so it's interesting.
That's flattering, actually.
But if you do go through the information and have questions, feel free to call us. And yeah.
I'm gonna give you all my business cards.
So I'm gonna finish.
The fight is on.
You know the story.
Find mine.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
because I keep, you know, threatening that I'm getting to be that age, I told the girls that I was thinking about maybe someday going fishing instead of working all the time. And they said they ordered me 1,000 business cards. They said you can't quit until your business cards are all gone.
Right.
Anybody want 2?
And then you just
We need to get another box. Yeah.
just kind of add them to her collection without her knowing.
Yeah, take them all. Call us with your questions.
Are you taking lessons so you can be this energetic?
So is there any questions, anything that we can do to help you at this moment?
When I talk about county government in ballpark numbers, if people ask how big a budget do you have? Well, basically, it's something close to 80 million.
Yep.
With about 27 million from local property tax.
That's right.
Close to that number.
Mm-hmm.
I keep using those numbers.
It's on one of these colored graphs, actually. I think you can get that information here. Oh, not exactly, but on the page 8 that goes right across from it. This tells you, you know, that you're 76 million in 2022. Obviously, it's more now because everything's costing more. But then it shows you in the top of the graph there where the money comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So what is this telling me?
Or it's on page 16 also on that exhibit 2.
Taxes are 34% of that budget.
26.7 million in 2022 anyway. you go to page 16, under the general revenues and transfer section, taxes is that first line. And yep, in 22 it was 26.7 million received from property taxes.
Questions?
And if you have questions throughout the year, don't hesitate to call us. It doesn't have to be just during the audit, the actual. It's I feel like we're constantly always working on it. So, you know, we're available throughout the entire year, and so is staff, and they know that. We talk to them once in a while and Chuck throughout the year. So just know that it doesn't have. It's anytime anything comes up, you can contact.
That separate letter that you all received is a requirement of us to provide this letter to governance to you. And what it says in there basically is that we didn't have any problems like everybody in the audit cooperated with us, which is sometimes not the case. But you know, everybody cooperated with us. We did get the information finally that we needed eventually, you know, once we got rolling on it. And keep in mind we got a really late start because we didn't even find out till March that the OSA wasn't going to do your audit anymore. So, and we already had a full schedule. So, but I just couldn't say no.
Well, that's good.
But
Yeah,
so,
before Colleen.
but we're getting you in the groove now. You're gonna have to step it up a notch so you can get on schedule and get on in time.
Yeah.
But this letter also says that you're responsible as governance to contact us directly if you have any questions or concerns. It is a responsibility of you to call us. Like you don't have to say to some staff person, call them. You call and you tell us. And of course, everything is kept in confidentiality and you know, then we know maybe there's a concern, maybe there's something we should look at. You know, maybe there's something that doesn't meet the smell test that we didn't notice. So you're in a better position to know. So just give us a shout and we'll check it out.
Is your plan to be back then in September?
Before September.
Before September.
Done at the end of September.
We need this audit report done by September 30th.
That's your deadline.
Okay.
But we'll see. We can't promise because it's got to come from you.
So if we can get all the information to complete it, it'll be done.
Well, that's good. I thank you for coming back.
I get to work on the ditches.
We'll leave that.
Well, we've got
She enjoys that.
we've got a lot of them. So.
I know. She just lights up. I know. I still had my old spreadsheets from the day back in the day, you know, because before it went on computer by cache by ditch, it was all one big Vicky Hughes. Remember Vicky Hughes?
Yes.
She had the spreadsheet and she kept track of each ditch in a Excel spreadsheet. And anytime you're taking numbers out of the computer and putting them on a spreadsheet, you've got room for error. It's human nature. You're doing a transposition, something, an extra zero.
Yep.
So when you're doing an audit, that's so tedious because you have to check every single math, all of it. You have to, you know, you have to re-add everything. And this way, if you can get the information right off the computer, granted, you're trusting that the computer knows how to do math, but you know, you don't have to actually add every single number together. You can do the subtotals and you have the information better that way. So I went back and got my old sheets out and I thought, okay, we're just gonna check. But it's great. It's good.
When I started back in 2008, one of my first projects was your ditch balance sheet. And that was like an initiation or hazing of the new kid.
Oh.
Which and the ditch balance sheet in my life, there's never been a county audit report without a ditch balance sheet in it that shows all of your ditches. Remember, cash, receivables, payables, all of it. The state auditor didn't do it. They haven't done it for years. So we thought, well, we are late enough. That's a week's project. Just put that thing together. So we're just, since they didn't do it, it's not actually a required part of the audit report. It was just sort of was provided. So we're hoping to get back to that eventually. So you have that information in here. You can see the status of each of your ditches. But I mean, I know Ron can print that out for you in a second. So.
Do you have a card?
I do. You want mine
Might
too?
as well. That's with the trifecta here.
My bag by your feet.
Yes.
Well, it's a
Are
team. You know, we just have our office in Thief River. We just have a little small building and we sit all in one big open room. So we don't have fancy desks and private offices. We just all sit in the corners around the walls, and then when we're working on a project like Polk County, it's like, hey, do you have that file? What's the cash balance? How many? So we talk as
Okay.
a team. And if you could come there, you could see how our dynamic is because luckily we get along pretty good. It's all women. I mean, that's not easy.
She wasn't
But
gonna give us her
and
card.
that way we work together, and so it's all a team, and we all know what's going on with with the whole program. So
No spitballs or anything going on.
if you're naughty, you have to bring candy for the lunchroom.
Chuck, Sam, or Ron, do you have any questions?
Nothing right now. We'll be back.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Is that a threat?
Thank you for coming, you guys.
Thank you much.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. We have another meeting to
No.
so we don't get to have lunch.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have time for lunch today anyway, so.
Nothing as good as our county, right? Nothing as good as our county.
Not in a different way.
Oh,
There are different ways.
Thank you all.
have a nice day, guys.
No, call out.
We'll do it.
See you later.
See if the next group is here. I got two of the one. If anybody's short of a crystal,
Nope, I think we got an extra one.
okay, then I'll just put
We'll
it.
take
in
about a 3-minute break here and All right, back to work. Michael Moore, you've got a group here. You want to introduce them?
Certainly. To my right is Dan Grunhoff, the president of the Polk County Agricultural Affairs Association. Tim Olson, who's the treasurer of the same organization, and Brian Grunhoff, who's also Polk County Fair, and Aaron Iverson, who's also a board member of the Polk County.
Thank you. Okay. Would you like to begin the presentation? And we'll go from there.
Wanted to give you a little background as to what the Polk County Fair or the Polk County Agricultural Fair Association is about, if you're not fully aware. My name is Michael Moore. I'm the secretary manager of the fair. This will be my 37th fair, so we've been doing this for quite some time. The Polk County Fair, of course, is located in Fertile. Last year, we had an attendance of right around 58,000 people. We're the 7th largest fair in terms of admission in the entire state of Minnesota, which is unusual for a town of 805 people, but the fair draws a lot of folks. We are looking at a possibility of a new building. The reason for it is we are lacking in space. We need new bathrooms, and the carnival would like to expand. Those are basically the major reasons for our presentation today. We've got a good history of buildings. We've done a lot of work on the fairgrounds. We have a basic motif, which is white siding and green roofs, metal roofs, to belong for maintenance and so forth. And most of the buildings adhere to that color scheme right now. We have a livestock barn that was built in 2016 and refurbished again in 2017. One of the largest livestock barns on a fairgrounds in the state of Minnesota. It was a cost of about $515,000. In order to pay for that, we took out a loan with the Red River State Bank of $350,000. The building is paid for in its entirety. Some with donations, but primarily through the good efforts of the Fair Board and the wonderful profits that we've been able to make recently from events on the fair. Recently, and I'm not sure if you received any kind of a report or not, but we submitted a report to Mr. Whiting regarding the recent work that we did. We renovated the grandstand, new planking, flooring for the entire grandstand, plus added safety handrails to the structure as well, long needed. We also renovated a building that was built in the 1930s, an iconic horse barn that is now a very usable space. Again, with the new siding and steel roof, and it fits right into the overall scheme of things. We also have a church that was donated to the fairgrounds, and we had to do a shingle and a job and also repair the steeple. Mr. Iverson was the key for all of that. He's the man that went up high and actually did the majority of the manual labor on repairing the steeple, which takes a lot of guts as far as I'm concerned, but very successful. From that, we received a grant from the county of about $152,000, and we added about $45,000 in local funds and funding from the state. So we've got a good track record of securing dollars and getting projects completed. I mentioned the fact that we need some bathrooms. The Concordia bathrooms, as we call them, are behind the Concordia Eat Stand. They were originally built back in the 1940s. They're kind of a scary place back there. Even though we have new toilets in there, it doesn't seem to make people more interested in doing their business there. They prefer to use the porta potties that we have out front. That's getting to be expensive. They fill up. We need to have them pumped. Altogether, the 5 porta potties that were there cost us right around $4,000 for maintenance just this last fair. That's something we really not like to throw our money away for things that we can we can provide that would be sustainable.
You own those or rent those?
Excuse me?
You own those,
No, we don't.
or
No, those
that's
are
your fee for
rented.
the
Yeah,
rental
yeah. Plus,
servicing?
the handicapped accessibility is something that we could use as well. We're lacking in that regard. The 4-H building, I'd like to ask if you don't mind, that Danny Grunhoff is really our arts or buildings and grounds
Sure.
person. And Danny, you want to take my spot?
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for giving us this time to present this to you. Yes, our 4-H building is, 2 years ago, we had a hailstorm go through there, and so the roof needs to be replaced. And our 4-H building, we used to be just 4-H projects, but the open class youth exhibit now has increased so much that we had to move that fine space, so we took over some of the 4-H building. And I think part of that is the home schooling in the area. We get a lot of kids with a lot of exhibits from arts and crafts to Legos and all sorts of stuff. And so we ran out of room to put them. So that's what we were looking for. And also that the open class is still doing well and probably improving. There's getting to be more arts projects than we've had in the past. So over this time, that, and then also the commercial exhibit building has been full and we've had to turn down. So we think we can do that project. If we can do this project, we'll have room to do all that. And also we have adding to that bathroom cost, we looked at building just a bathroom, and building just a bathroom building was about $300,000 to $350,000. So it kind of doesn't make sense to do that when you only use it for 5 days of the year or less. So that's why we were trying to incorporate that into this building so we can do more. You want to do the next presentation?
I should mention that Dan is also on the board of managers for the Minnesota State Fair. A well-deserved position, and up through the ranks through the Minnesota Federation of County Fairs. Our local representative and District 9 representative of that organization is his son, Brian. So he's keeping that in the family. One of the things of this 4-H exhibit building and also the youth building is its location right now. It's restricting the possibility of expansion with the carnival. This last year, we grossed in total sales for the carnival over $288,000. They're saying that they could bring in more equipment and that we could easily go over 300, which we're hoping to do this year. And I wouldn't hesitate to say that eventually we'll be topping $400,000 in gross sales for the carnival. And it is one of the largest carnivals in the state. And it's amusement attractions out of Florida, and they run a very good show, very clean and well run, very well run. The owners are on the grounds all the time. That really is an important part of the carnival business. You can deal with those folks right away and make sure that everything is correct. But really, the possibility of enlarging the carnival will only happen if we have more space. And that building that we're talking about, the 4-H exhibit building, is one of our problems. We need to move that building or demolish it.
Is it essentially two buildings, or it's kind of like two rooms?
It's one building, but it has a, how to say it, what would you say, Dan? It has a larger area than a kind of an add-on.
Right.
Yeah, it's an old wooden Quonset, then we built on here in about in the 60s.
Okay.
We moved that building across the road, the Quonset type building, in about 1963. There used to be a hay shed for Andy Peters.
Thank you. So the location for this building is, you're probably coming down.
Yeah, the location is going to be where the what we call the Lakeview School is located at right now. That was a structure that was moved in back in the mid 1980s, and we'd be looking for a new space for that. But the new building would be located where that's at right now. The Also, the gospel tent, which is also located in that particular area, will have to find a new location for that as well. We're thinking that perhaps we can do something and allow them so they don't have to put up this large tent every year, which again is a cost to that organization. They have to rent that tent, and that gets to be pretty substantial as well. Uh, so getting into the new building, right now, I'd like to introduce both Aaron and Brian. In front of you are some schematics and also some drawings of what the building might look like. These are the guys that have been chairing the building committee itself and have greater knowledge.
Well, hello. Thanks for having us here. It's not my big thing being like this, but I'll try and do the best I can. So, been on the fair board for a few years now. We've been putting estimates together. Went with an 80 by 150. It seems like it's big. It's going to be a big building, but you might as well do it right the first time, because it's endless what this building can provide to Polk County year round. So this building will be insulated, like I said, with the bathrooms and lots of room in back. So with the estimates we've got, pretty solid estimates. So this building will cost us just under $1 million after it's done. It's like 9.6 or 960,000.
And like Mike said, it'll be where that Lakeview schoolhouse is, towards the other what we call the Robert Nelson building, the other industrial be in between there. There'll be a walkway or like 40 feet.
There'll be enough room
between the buildings, so that's where that sits. It on the drawing, this floor plan, it doesn't have in our last revision, there might be a second story above this, just so like for meeting, like a meeting room for us or something, or rent out or something like that. And some of this stuff is still in flux. It all depends on if we have a second tier, what that looks like for load on the trusses and stuff like that. So this is roughly what the initial plan will be. So might be a little bit
right. And we went with a steel frame building, I should say, over wood, so we can go wider. Just the research I've done, it seems like the wider the building for square footage, the more useful it can be. If you were to say 50 wide, so you starting pricing over 50 to 60 in steel trusses and stuff, it gets to be so much more of a beefier truss because of snow load. With a steel building, you can, like I said, wider and able to handle the snow load for northern Minnesota much better than wood. And that for price wise too, it was really similar in price, steel versus wood construction.
Questions or?
Just the bathroom side would be the south end.
South end, yeah, right off the
tar.
And it'll be kind of located off the taco stand. If you guys are familiar with our fair, that it'll be set back to the north, off the gravel road, 20, 30 feet. So it'll be a good location. We pondered where to put it. I mean, everybody's like, where should we put this building? And yeah, I wish we had more room on our fairgrounds. It'd be a lot easier, but it's what we have. So that's where we decided to put it. Be a lot of access on the east side for parking. So other than that church being there, and you've got the whole east side for parking.
And there'll be one garage door when you're looking.
An overhead door, yeah.
Overhead door in the bottom right. So we can bring bigger things in. It'll be a bigger overhead. It's not on this drawing. Kind of like on the color schematic, it'll be out in the corner. So so we can bring larger things in if we need to.
into the exhibit area.
Yeah.
Is that concessions there in the middle of the CONC, or what am I reading there?
Yeah, just in case if someone rented out and they wanted to serve food, or like it would just be a prepping area, pretty much if someone wanted to cook a hot dog or something.
So, what are your thoughts? You know, you mentioned the week or 2 weeks of the fair and that type of thing. Is this going to be rented out to vendors then, or how would you use that exhibit area the rest of the year?
Well, what we're looking at now, we do have a large craft show that comes into the fairgrounds every year. We have the FFA puts on a regional show that takes 12 county area. Several hundred people show up for that, or kids, students. We have been requested from several other organizations. Egg County is one of them that would like to have something other than kind of a regional event, and they've asked us if we have facilities for that. Currently, our answer is no, we don't. Not for the number of folks that they'd like to have in attendance. So we're under the impression that there are other activities out there as well that we would be available for renting.
For furnishings, I would guess, and you need some chairs and tables.
Those are not included in the price. That would be
That's going to
fundraising
be
activities and so
additional.
forth, right? Moving the current building that's there is not in this price either. So we have other costs that we would be looking at on our end only.
You have 2 buildings that you pretty much need to
Yes.
move.
Yeah.
Also the watershed, Polk County watershed, they bring all their kids,
Red Lake, Polk County, and Norman County have a watershed day there on the fairgrounds every year.
Yeah.
They bring it.
During the summer.
During school year. It's in spring. Or no, it's in the fall. It's water festival.
In the fall. Yeah.
Water festival.
Quite a few schools that
Currently, we have a approval from the Red River State Bank of a $350,000 loan, and we have set aside $150,000 of our own funds. So we have a total of $500,000 to match our request of $500,000, which is a fairly significant match for local organizations. We're hoping to be able to do something yet this fall in terms of the timeline. We would not be prepared to do anything prior to this year's fair, but which is right around the corner. If you're not aware, it's July 10th through the 14th. So there will be a lot of advertising and so forth things happening shortly about that. As I said, it's one of the largest events in the area. It's certainly the largest in Polk County, and it can be said that it's the largest event in northwestern Minnesota as well, with our attendance. And we're only growing, and that I think is a good thing over the years. Last year, our total revenues exceeded $556,000. Our expenses were in the $472,000, so we had a profitable year. We are the home of the Baja race. We created the race, and it's being copied all over the state. We now call it the championship, the state championship. We've now excited to add big time rodeo. The PRCA is now coupled with our standard rodeo called Triple B, and we are now in the big leagues for the rodeo, and I have an extensive sponsorship that has been headlined and earmarked and worked by Aaron and Brian and Danny and I to a lesser degree, and Tim as well. But Aaron and Brian, especially Aaron, has been very instrumental in so far securing close to $60,000 in sponsorships for just the rodeo. So it's really taking off, and it just adds to the overall excitement of the Polk County Fair. And you notice that we used the Polk County Fair. This is not the Fertile Fair. This is not the West Polk County Fair. This is the Polk County Fair. And it has been ever since I've been involved with it. And I have found it to be very useful to understand that the folks in the entire county are welcome and do come to enjoy the fair. So some of them, of course, are required by 4-H and so forth, but basically it's because of the entertainment and good, clean family fun, and that's our motto.
Oh, it's a great event. Great event.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, any thoughts, things that we should do differently, add on?
I think this is all, fairly new to the five of us, so we just need to kind of digest, and we got a lot of answers today. If we have any additional, we'll certainly direct those to you and
Very good.
and decide what we can do.
Okay. Well, if nothing else, we'll take leave.
Thanks for what you do.
Thank you.
Guys. Thanks
See you
for
at the
coming.
fair.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
On these types of things, Chuck, do we have a committee that looks at this, or
Yes, we do.
well, I was just wondering if finance committee is a part of, obviously that's a big part of this, where that fits into the budget. And
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head that it's um, something to digest. Coming up with $500,000 is
it's a lot,
the county can do it, but it's kind of like, well, it's not the only thing that we've got to do.
right? We've just touched the future.
What do we have left in the ARPA funds?
Well, we have more than that.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you specifically how much. But Ron could give me an accounting of it, but I think we still might have a couple million left in there. Now, we've been using it to buy down the levy, and that's an allowable expense. And
We have some things earmarked.
you have some things earmarked formally and informally. Just kind of depends. We haven't visited it for a while.
And I mean, we've already provided them with some of the ARPA funds, for
To do the grandstand,
and
right?
those type of things too.
How much was that? Was our contribution to that event?
152,000.
How much?
He said 152. I thought it was 149, but I might be getting
So around that 150.
It's right around there.
Okay.
And I will say, because he gave me a tour of the grounds last spring when I went out there to kind of see for myself, that they did a really nice job with it.
They did.
It was noticeable. For a guy who gets to the fair, best once a year, at worst maybe once every 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I could see the work that had been done. They did a good job. This is a much bigger request.
One thing, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I can think of some things, but I probably want to think about them a little bit more deeply, just to kind of come up with stuff.
Hey, unfortunately, I'm on that board.
Okay.
So, well, I didn't want to get involved too much with this, but in the beginning, before I was in this job, I was hot on that. So I just kind of backed away from it and let them take it. But the way they're approaching this, and they were asking me questions. I says, you guys, I'm only one. Present what you have to do, but keep in mind, we have to do something with the latrine issue. Huge, the bathrooms.
Oh.
And they weren't really to spend the 350 to do that when we could add to it. So, but I think they're really trying to be prudent in their asking. They're in their because we had a meeting here a week or two ago, and they were just saying everything that they were doing, and I just sitting there taking it in. But they're trying to be delicate. They don't want to. They are not ones to ask for money in the first place. So when we did the first asking, that was interesting that they even thought of asking. And then they brought this up, and I says, "Hey, you guys, can I ask? Do I think it's a good idea? Yeah, I'm a little bit biased in that, but there, the need is definitely there. Um, I'd like to do what we can to help them, but we got to see this whole thing through. We got to look
We
at the
do.
whole picture.
$500,000 is a
Yeah,
big number for the fair, if we're looking at the 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
But I see they're using it more as a community community room.
Yeah, but county is the only advice I gave them is you have to try to incorporate county participation from everywhere. Make it open to everybody in the county. If you're going to ask the county for money, we have to have it available for county events.
And have a need for the county.
Correct. And that's why they're going with the heated this time.
And I was going to ask the question, and when I decided not to, but looking at the project and being there, I understand the bathroom problem. For me, that's always been kind of a big concern there. And looking at it, I'm wondering if the board wouldn't be better served having two projects instead of having it all encompassed into one and taking on the big heated building, because the bathrooms are going to have to be heated over winter, so forth and so on, but maybe breaking it out into two separate projects per se, and with the option of allowing the show area of being either cold storage or some type of different. And yes, it's the cheapest to do it at the time of construction, but this is a big project, and even at 500,000 at 7%, don't know what the interest rates are going to do, but I'm going to guess they're going to be probably in the neighborhood of 7%. That's a fair financial undertaking, as far as an interest rate. So,
the building they want to replace something has to be done with it. We either need to take it down because, and that is the 4-H's primary initial exhibit place.
Yep.
So they've been moving them around. I just find it ironic that we had 4-H here presenting this morning. When you look at that, and what do they have 100? All these new people in these new projects and this stuff. Exhibiting is a difficult task, but that's the way I look at it. But I've been on that board for 26 years, so.
Well, how much of the ARPA money are we using to buy down levy?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but pretty much anything that we used does that. And
But of that $2 million, how much of that is basically?
well, I think that's after that.
Yeah, that's a remaining balance we have.
Yeah, I'd have to go back more and look. I haven't seen a budget report.
Well, basically, that buy down had happened 2 more times. Got 2 more jail bond payments, and when those are gone, then we have a different situation.
Well, you'll have some room in the levy.
Yeah.
But you're also going to have competing interests. Let's say for operations and guys that have great big projects that cost a lot of money to try to help with. Yes,
I told the other thing,
John.
I told him I wouldn't even consider voting in favor of this unless we drop the special fund. I told him straight out. I says that has always been a thing of mine since I've been here. You know that. Why
I think we all share that.
And I says, okay, get rid of that Because that's, you know, I says,
My
But that's only 100,000. And I shouldn't say only
I
100,000,
understand that.
but
my guess is you're going to want to think about this.
we'll do that. It's first time we've seen this, so
I would suggest looking at it. That you're going to have two ways of looking at it: an amount of money,
yep.
or if you start thinking about what you would like to see in there, you're probably increasing your class, and it's not going to be ours to operate, obviously,
right.
unless there's some county role in it. But I think there's other things to think about too. But I would keep those two things in mind so that you don't set up a situation where now it's conditional upon this, and this happening because they're going to run it.
Yeah.
Well, we should keep going because I think we've got a finance committee at 1:00.
Personnel committee.
Personnel.
That's actually what I was just talking about in the hallway after.
Thanks for listening to them, though, you guys. Because
No, I'm
Mhm.
glad they have a plan in the future.
You know, and I guess one comment, with the renovated old horse barn, I really didn't feel that was used to its fullest benefit last year.
Yep, we didn't know what to put in it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's still working on, so they're adjusting things all the time. So
Not even aware of that building.
that's the one we just
Way back up.
redid. That's my favorite building on the whole property.
It's a big one.
Nope.
No, it's just that little small one up in the southwest corner.
All right. Well, we can move on. Moving on to John.
All right. Good morning still.
It is
I got,
kind of.
I'm not supposed to be here till afternoon, so it's only a couple minutes.
You'll
so.
have to be quick.
Finish
Just
early.
kidding.
All right. First item up is the MSW landfill phase 14. It's the release of retainage for RJ Zavrals and Sons. This is a project that was supposed to be closed out in 2022, maybe with some of the issues we had, it was going to carry over into the spring of 2023. We had issues with the leachate tank. They had to be fixed when some of the straps failed. The big issue with it was the control panel and pump. It was EPG was the vendor, and they failed to deliver the panel that was ordered by Zavrals to be installed. When they did, there was a number of issues with it, and then they just kept wanting to tack more and more money onto the project to either recoup either misbidding it or not building it when they did, or when it was ordered, waiting until the parts went up, whatever it was. So we don't get into that because that was done through Zavrals, but that has now been fixed. Everything is operational. The project is complete, and so they're asking for the retainage to be paid out on that, so we can close the project out. It includes a slight change for actual quantities used, because when you do the bid, it's all based on number of yards or tons. When you get out there and start doing it, if you got a low area, you're gonna go through more material. So the engineer verifies that, and then of course we withheld money above the retainage because the pump wasn't done. And so now that's been done. So if you add all three of those up, the dollar figure is $125,022.37. And so that was my recommendation, is to pay that in full to RJ Zavral and Sons upon receiving all of the lien waivers. And they did just send those over last night. I just have not had a chance to sit down and make sure that's all of them with the consultants. So that's why we make it contingent upon that.
Can we move on that then, waiting for the...
Yep, you just do it contingent, as it's written at the end. It just says
Okay.
contingent upon furnishing all required lien waivers.
Is there a motion to proceed, and we can move on to discussion?
There's no concern about the amount,
No.
and it's something you had, prepared to
Budgeted?
pay for at some point, budgeted.
2022, yeah.
Okay, I move.
Second.
Second? Okay. Questions? If not, we'll proceed with the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries.
Okay.
And the next one's just updates. That's the actual breakdown, I guess. That was in your packet. Next one's updates. There's not much on there. There's a lot on mine. So just going through some of these things, that 6-county group, 9-county group project, that stuff we've applied for bond funds from the state of Minnesota on previously. The legislation dropped for that 9-county project now in both the House and Senate last week. It's House File 5339 and Senate File 5398. And so the House File authors are Knutson, Wiener, Davis, Keel, Burkle, Grosso, and Bliss. So it's basically every representative in that 9-county area, including some of them that just have a little sliver.
Right.
On the Senate side, it's Utke, Johnson, Green, and Eichhorn. And that's all of the senators, so our entire area signed on as authors. So that's both have been referred to capital investment, and then we just sit and wait until
20 days, huh? 20 days of.
Well, we really don't know because, of course, the governor didn't propose any sort of funding for local government.
No, he
This
put
bonding session, obviously, the bonding committees want to do bonding bills, so
yeah,
yeah,
how much and whether there's over $3 billion requested. So where we fare in there, I honestly don't know. We were on both the House and Senate bonding tours last fall, so usually that's a pretty good indication they plan on seriously considering or funding you, because they certainly don't go out to all of the projects or even a good percentage of them. So normal year, I would think we would fare fairly well, but last year and this year are not normal years. So
time will tell.
So that's where we sit with that. The MPCA has opened multiple solid related grants. The legislature appropriated nearly $20 million last year for these MPCA grants. Normally the MPCA gets about $1 to $2 million for grants. So for them, it's very large amounts of money, large projects. Right now, I want to say there's 4 RFPs open. I think there's another 4 or 5 coming. So what we've been doing, based on our conversation, especially our conversation with Senator Johnson, is the odds of getting full funding on that 9-county project probably aren't real great. So we're looking to try and break that down into phases, eliminate some of the things we can't, and with the MPCA pulling their support of the project, we don't feel the need that we need to pacify them with some of the things they wanted to see in there and concentrate more on the things we felt we needed. So we're going to try and pare ours down a little bit and then try and break it into phases if we can. The other tactic we're taking is with these open grants through the MPCA is breaking out sub-projects out of the larger one and applying at these different grant opportunities. So, I think I'll put in at least three different apps, up to 5 apps for different parts of that big project, and see if we can't pull the funds from the MPCA direct to do those parts of the project. So for some of the other counties, that's a little more difficult because the change in the MPCA rules that's expected to occur next year will close their programs down, their online landfills down. That doesn't affect Polk because even though we have an online landfill, if we were to close it, we still have line landfills out there. So the facility itself will still operate. So,
and do those grants qualify for equipment?
Yes, they're basically equipment grants. So if you want me to talk to you about what we're applying for, I'll do that after the meeting. I don't want to have to do that at the meeting because the RFPs are open. The last thing I want someone taking our thing, putting their name on it, submitting it. Now we're competing with someone else on our own project. So 2 of the RFPs close the end of next week. So can talk a little bit more about those. I actually put one in the newsletter, hoping that it doesn't come out too quickly. He's not looking at me at all.
Newsletter never comes out too quickly.
So I mean that's some of the things we're working on right now. the landfill, we're gonna need to purchase the wetland credits, and the plant impact fees so that we can construct a landfill this summer. That would be the phase 15. We need to modify our permit to change the design of the landfill to accommodate the footprint we got. Really what the end result is we end up building a larger landfill cell this summer than we anticipated, because if we don't use up that space, we won't be able to capture it later. So we're doing that. We're supposed to have that permit modification submitted the end of this week, I believe, to the MPCA. And then we're working with the engineer on the actual design. It's about 90% done. And then once that's completed, we'll get the quote for the construction of it and see how close our numbers are to the engineer estimates. So as far as the resource recovery facility, we do our RADA, that's that relative accuracy and testing audit on our emissions equipment. That's done 2 years, and then we do the stack test the third year. This will be the second of the 2 RADAs. They'll be done the last week of April, April 29th. Next year, we'll do a full stack test year that we'll have to do that. The waste sort is required every 5 years by our air permit. That needs to be done this year. I believe the tentative date on that's mid-May. As the company comes up, they'll do ours in conjunction with the one in Polk Douglas, the Alexandria facility. So we split their mobilization costs when they come up, and they just go from one facility to the other.
That's basically a stack test. Is that what it?
No, the RADA is testing our emissions equipment to make sure everything's in parameters. And then on the third year, you do the full stack test where they actually bring in third-party equipment and test our emissions. The waste sort is they actually go into the tip floor at the facility and they pull out samples, and then they break the samples that they take into components. This is this type of plastic, this is cardboard, this is organics, this is electronics, whatever it would be. And then that information goes from all the facilities to the MPCA, and they do their policy reports off of it. They're also tracking changes in the waste stream. You see like paper is declining as a percentage of the solid waste because people aren't buying newspapers anymore. You go more electronic communications instead of mail and handouts. So you just see those things changing. There's more plastic in the waste because they're using plastic instead of glass or aluminum where they can. So those are the sorts of things they track that way. We are operating this year under an extension on our steam contracts. I met with one of the steam one of the steam customers last week. They're explaining some of the hardships in doing it the way we've been doing it. Is their contract years run July 1 to June 30th. And so when we change things at the end of the year for the next year, it's creating a hardship for them. So I said I'd see what we could do and what I had in mind, and when I float here, and if there's no major push, I'll just do it, we'll factor in that when we do the next steam contract at the end of this year, which I anticipate being a different format than what we've been using, is we'll just hold the current term for the next 6 months of 2025. So they have time to plan for what it's going to be and incorporate that into their contract. Does that make sense? So they know what we're doing this year will carry over to the first 6 months of 2025. Hopefully we know what our contract is going to look like before the end of this year, so they'd have 6 months to incorporate into their following contract. I'm pursuing a grant opportunity with a nonprofit group to put in robots on the back end of the material recovery facility for what our equipment misses, and pull that back in. So I've been talking with them. The outfit's called the Recycling Partnership. They're funded by Costco and Walmart and Coca-Cola and these other things. They do these all over the country. But they have focuses. Minnesota's, I think, one of 10 or 12 their focus states that they want to work with. And I think it's because we have the infrastructure that a lot of the states like North Dakota, South Dakota don't. So they want us to apply for that. That'll be a July 1st or July 8th, something like that. they're July dates for application. So they won't fully fund anything, but we find out what they'd fund, and then it's up to us whether we want to pursue it or not. So the nice thing would be is we could possibly use that as a match to any state funds we get or state bond funds we get. So it kind of preserves opportunities there that we don't have to put more local dollars in than necessary. As far as the recycling program itself, we have those 4 microjets. Those are those robotless robots on the quality control lines at the waste energy facility. It's the first prolonged period we've actually had all of those ejects working, where we're actually pulling all of those materials out. We haven't been able to do that since we put the equipment in back in 2018, 2019, just for lack of labor. So now that we've been doing that, we've gotten through the bugs in that. We're adding the plastic number 5, it's PP or polypropylene. We're adding that to the single stream mix for the 6 counties. So it's another material that we'll collect and recycle.
Isn't that the one that makes us the most money lately?
No, HDPE natural, the undyed stuff, so milk jugs primarily is what is. That usually carries the highest value.
I see.
Being natural, it doesn't have dyes in it, then they can do whatever they want with it for color. If you put the color in, then you're limited. You're going to get a gray.
Gray, right.
And the only other thing you do is dye it much darker, which would be a black or something that's really hard to then pull out again because the opticals don't get the reflection off of the black. It absorbs the spectrum of light. So that's what we're looking at. So I know some of the counties were really pushing to add another recyclable material to it. So we can add that to the mix. And then that same recycling partnership also likes to fund cart systems. So going away from like the drop boxes that we have for recyclables at the transfer station and some of the small communities, they like to fund carts where every homeowner has their own cart. You fill it with recyclables, a garbage truck goes by, picks it up and hauls it over. You get your recycling rates up. Usually the barrier to doing that is the cost of buying all of the carts. Well, they have a grant to fund at least part of those carts. And so we're having a meeting with the 9-county group next Wednesday, and they would like to get on the agenda to talk to all of the counties that we're working with. So if Crookston's got someone that wants to look at carts and they played with it on and off for the last several years,
I think they are.
That would be, they're missing the boat because they should be applying for this grant that's closing the end of this month, and they should have done it last fall when it was open, but this is another opportunity. But a lot of these communities are just sitting there not actively engaged, or just watching the money train pass by, and sooner or later the money's going to dry up. So
well, they need a special garbage truck to pick that cart up, and
well, you don't need a special necessarily a truck, but you need the implement to do
something.
And see, that's what they potentially would pay for. But so again, it's
10 people.
And people.
Well, with a lot of them, they're automated, so you don't need 2 people on a truck. You just need one, and the driver runs the buttons from the cab, and it's quicker.
Yeah, I think, in fact, I think Crookston is buying the contraption to be able to do that.
But it would help if they track it. But I think I've offered 3 different people now to help them with that, and it's like,
well, that's good.
Like pushing a rope. So that's where we're at with. That's I think a proper analogy, but
that's good.
That rope wants to twist and turn. That's the.
You need someone to grab the other end of it.
Gets a little frayed.
Gets a little frayed.
Moving along.
Yep. So I mean that's kind of where we're at with things. That's not a complete summary, but
right.
I hit them that rapid fire. I don't know how much you all take out of it either. So
I've had seen some news reports or read them, whatever they were, I don't remember now, but saying that a significant percentage of plastics that are recycled are not recyclable. I mean, they're just
are not recyclable.
Well, there's no value in recycling.
No, there's value in it. It's just your cost to collect it gets to be so high.
No, this isn't collecting. This is in the recycling process. And
Oh,
it-
there's
it
always
doesn't-
value. The what's been happening with the recycle markets. There's a couple of things. One for plastics is the plastic manufacturers are dumping their off-spec plastic on the market, driving the price down. The other part I believe is, the plastic and aluminum tend to be tied to the price of fuel. The fuel in the US is high, but worldwide it's not. And so really it's just a local US issue that, we should be seeing these prices going really high, but actually I think they're following more of the world trend, which is depressed. Because what plastic is a petroleum product, and aluminum to process it is very energy dependent, which is why it follows the price of fuel. So we tend to index everything to what it is for us here, but a lot of this stuff goes overseas. So if their prices are cheap and they can make the virgin material cheap using petroleum products because it's cheap, why buy the more expensive stuff? Now, one thing I did not mention in here is some of the legislative things going through. One bill of particular interest is called the ERP bill, this Extended Producer Responsibility Bill. You've heard of bottle bills before, where they charge you a container fee.
Yep,
That's what they do in Michigan, California, Oregon, Washington State, I think Iowa does it.
Carolina.
It spurs recycling because you add value to it, and then the collectors get money for it. You can get money when you redeem it. They tried that in Minnesota. It has not worked for decades. It comes up about every 5 to 7 years, it seems like. It came up for this session, but there's also this movement to do more of what they call product stewardship, which is you make the manufacturer of a product responsible, or at least partially responsible, for the end of life management of it, whether it's disposal, reuse, recycling, whatever. And so you've seen that with electronics. The electronic waste law that went into effect back in the mid 2000s was a form of that, to extend producer responsibility. Paint, the paint care bill that went through a couple of years ago, they're charging you a premium in Minnesota when you buy a container of paint. They're charging for its recycling. We collect our HHW facilities, we ship it off, and then we get a check from Paint Care, which is the organization that manages it. They're trying to do that with this ERP bill, this Extended Producer Responsibility Bill, for all packaging. So that would be everything from the aluminum cans, the plastic bottles, cardboard boxes, foil wrappers on potato chips, and you name it, juice boxes. It would be based, it's a huge thing, and they would create a third-party organization to manage it. Then the manufacturers would pay in as part of their membership, and then that money would be going out, and that's supposed to pay for both collection and processing of those materials. I think there's a really good chance that passes this year. It's made its way all the way through the Senate and the House. The Senate asked it to come back last week, I believe, because when they went through it the first time, it didn't have the fiscal note tied to it. Now it went back. It went through that committee, went back to the other committee that recommended it back. But if that gets laid over, it may fundamentally change the recycling programs all over. They would, under that, again, it's all loose because it all has to be worked out the details, but the responsibility is in there that they're supposed to be reimbursing communities for collecting the material. They're supposed to be paying us to process their material. So that changes a lot of things. And there's supposed to be a premium put on supporting existing infrastructure. So you don't have to go out and build new waste processing facilities, recycling facilities. You don't have to go out and hire a different vendor to provide the recycling service separate from the waste haulers. So that may change a lot of the way you look at doing things. So I think it might make us with these processing facilities look really good in a couple of years. But I think it gives them up to, a 3-year lag time where they draft their things, get their membership, figure out the funding mechanisms before they actually have to start delivering on it. But unlike previous years, I think there's a really good shot this goes through this year.
Yeah, because I think on AMC Ledge, update yesterday. And Brian did touch on that.
Yep.
So
So that's all I have. Everyone's packing up already, which is kind of the hint to be quiet and leave.
Lunchtime.
No, we're not paying that lady, or we got that lady taken care of, all that one that's been a thorn in the side. I went to that.
You gotta be
one.
more specific than that.
What?
What does she run? The one that cost us a whole bunch of money, rather than
Oh,
when
at
we were
the
doing-
MPCA.
state.
What's her name?
Lisa.
Remember, we're in open session.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
It's our MPCA engineer.
She doing all right?
She's not gone.
Okay.
She got promoted.
Yeah, besides the promotion.
Yeah. We've had many conversations about it.
Okay.
We
Just
got our
wanna make
permit.
sure.
Yep.
Yes.
We had a little break here earlier, and I forget the gentleman's name that was sitting out at the license center.
Okay.
He's west of town. He came up with the idea, and apparently it's all over Facebook. I'm not on Facebook about the transfer station hours. Apparently, it's open Monday evening later.
Yep.
And he's made the comment it would be good if the transfer station would be open Saturday mornings, because apparently I forget his name, he's 3 or 4 miles west of town. And the Raddies have also had problems, people dumping garbage and mattresses and stuff that they can't get to the transfer station on the weekends and depositing.
We used to be open on weekends. And what we found out is we would say we'll be open 8 to noon. And you know when the busiest period of time was at the transfer station on Saturday? 12:30.
Yep.
Because their intent was not to have to pay to get rid of something. And
Yep.
so if someone stayed there, if we had breakdown, we'd walk out saying, you can't dump there. And what are you doing here? It's like, well, what are you doing here? You knew we were closed and you're upset we're still here. So the problem is we only get half dozen people, and to pass that cost on to everyone else, there's always, no matter what we pick for hours, there's always going to be someone that's not convenient for. When I look at what we allow people to self-haul, if you go to the Twin Cities where they have facilities everywhere and they're open, they charge you through the nose. You want to get rid of a mattress, it's $50. We charge you what, $2, $1.10. It's just the cost of it. So it's hard to justify the expense of doing anything different because it doesn't benefit enough people. People that will show up will tell you they were showing up before during hours. They're just showing up now because they ate supper first instead of coming out before supper.
Yep. Well, I
The
said I'd
true
bring it up.
No, and I don't have a problem with
I
it.
hear that
We get
too.
that. We get that every year.
If you could
Usually around
find-
tax time when people start thinking about it because they see the.
Well, they're hauling, they're taking their shrubs and things like that. They do it on Saturdays and they want to get rid of it and they work Monday through Friday. So if you could find 4 hours on a Saturday during the summer months, I think that could be a compromise.
Yeah, it's just, do you want to increase the budget? Because, we're running.
Yep, I understand.
We're running 7 to 5 during the week and then Monday's late. So we have 3 people, you split the hours, 52, 54 hours a week.
Yeah,
over 3. We extend the hours, it's just more time. We have just one person and then you have no service.
Yep.
You're just staying on top and then burning a lot of overtime when someone's on vacation or sick. So
issues.
And I guess the Facebook comment wasn't about the hours as much as it was the garbage showing up in the outskirts within 3-4 miles of
the dumping,
the dumping that's going on. So
and we get that. I mean, we have one down here where they've been running an open landfill, looks like, and burning everything that's now in front of the state. It's just, you have a transfer station. If there's an opportunity, some people are going to do the wrong thing. And honestly, for residents, we take almost everything for free. And when you still have people illegally disposing of stuff. And I'm assuming what they're finding in the ditches is all stuff that they could get rid of for free if they brought it in. Lots of people that have to get a neighbor to do it, because they got a pickup truck and the person that generates it doesn't. They don't want the garbage in their car. yeah, garbage issues never get completely resolved. Anything else?
Very popular Monday through Friday, though, I'll tell you that.
And ours is, compared to if you go out to Bemidji or Park Rapids, they're seeing 1,000 cars a day roll through their facilities. So we see about, last time we did a count around 300, 350. So imagine being 3-4 times busier.
I've been at the Park Rapids one. That's quite, that's on Sunday afternoon when everybody's going home. It's busy.
Mm-hmm.
Person City Council, they estimate that 85% of homeowners bring their own garbage out.
Yep.
The pickup by the city is.
That's because you can't hold it long enough till they come back around with their recyclables. You pick it once a month, and the little bins are full within a week if you're.
Oh.
So.
Well, even Minneapolis, they're recycling. They only do every other week, I think. And I mean, like I know with my daughters, that bin is full
Constantly.
Yeah.
A lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I do have to say though that, our availability, for our waste disposal is so much better up here because like down at my farm in Princeton a couple weeks ago, cleaning up some stuff. And it's
If you look at some of the boats coming up from the Twin Cities and what's inside the boats and inside the backs of trucks, they're bringing their stuff with them up here because if you need to get rid of a TV or a couch,
to try and get rid of stuff down in that area is,
and you can bring it up here and get rid of it for $2, and you're going to drive up here anyway. They throw it in the back. That's why we changed the assessments for first and second residential, because we have people that had lake lots and they lived in even Marshall County or and they're bringing all their stuff from their Marshall County house down here and getting rid of it. So that's why we changed the assessment structure, because we're providing service to much more than what we have for residents.
Oh yeah, well the surrounding
East Grand
counties.
Forks,
It's
Well, East Grand Forks, everything ends up in the bins right on they pick up.
That's the cart
Once a
system.
week for the garbage and twice a month for the recyclables. So there's no reason to haul them somewhere else. You get billed for that on your water and light anyway. So you're paying for it. But
yeah, we collect our recyclables, at home, and then we bring it into the container in town.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right, we'll bang this. Adjourned.
I'm supposed to bang the
Just
microphone.
bang.